2 likes, bro.
No.
Thanks for showing up.
I sabotage one of those because when I sit back and when I change up, I change up.
You mind if I get up?
Hold on one second. Yeah, we're literally live.
Oh, that's good.
It's all good, brother. Good to see you, man. We're not going to need Josephus today. We're just going to go, just in the scriptures. But shalom, everybody online. Hope everybody had a blessed weekend. Blessed Shabbat. Hope everybody had a little chance to recharge because Monday was running right back up on you right before you know it. Shalom, all the brothers and sisters out there, isbhpk Houston, isbhpk Virginia, Norfolk, Virginia, and isbhpk Rochester, New York. Shalom, salutations. Shalom to Kawakab out there in Guatemala teaching his congregation. Shalom to the congregation that Kawakab teaches. I know y'all sometimes when y'all get a chance to come and listen and tune in, so we're much obliged and we appreciate that very much. We hope everybody's doing well today, and hopefully today we won't disappoint. Today, the title of the class is called Traits That Kill the Spirit of Growth. Traits that kill the spirit of growth. And for those of us who understand what growth is, it is truly an uphill climb. And it is a continual pursuit to push forward. Because you look around and you gain positive momentum one day, 1 week, 1 month, 4 months, and then as soon as you take progress 2 or 3 months, then you know what's waiting for you is that fall. That fall is waiting for you. And today's class, the purpose of it is to give listeners, students, readers an opportunity to kind of get some proper lessons on how to sustain your pursuit of growth, okay, and to sustain your endeavors to grow spiritually. Okay, so what I want to first go into is Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha, chapter 32, verse 13 through 17. Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha. Do you need an Apocrypha, brother? Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha, chapter 32, verses 13 through 17. Okay.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 32, verse 13.
We're going to take our time here. We're going to need our 1828s also, our dictionaries, to give a little more clarity to what we're about to go into. We're going to take our time in Ecclesiasticus to lay the proper foundation for where we're trying to go in this class direction. So read that, sir, please.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 32, verse 13. And for these things bless him that made thee, and hath replenished thee with his good things.
The Most High is going to replenish us with the good blessings that we deserve, or that we earn. Okay? Continue.
Whoso feareth the Lord will receive his discipline.
Whoever, and this is very important in the process of growing, in the process of building your spirit up. Because I guess when you're looking at the spirit of growth, when you're trying to process what growth is, you have to look at growth as horizontal than vertical. Because all of us have strengths, all of us have abilities, all of us have things that come very natural to us. So in the things that come very natural to us, it's easy to exceed vertical in those directions. But if we're dealing with the spirit of growth in general, for all the things that we have strengths in, we also have a myriad of weaknesses in them also, in different aspects of our spirit. And that's why I say we have to look at our spirit and the growth in our spirit horizontally, east-west. Because you might be strong in your communication. A person might be strong in their work ethic. A person might be strong in their listening skills. But it might be weak in your discipline, might be weak in faith. All of these things are different categories of your spirit. And then this quote-unquote great race it's very important that as we're pushing forward, we're moving upward, we're also looking at our spirit horizontally. When you sit back here and look at the fruits of the spirit, or you look at the lust of the flesh, there's a myriad of fruits of the spirit. There's a myriad of beneficial things about our spirit that we have to continue to build on top of. And then there's a myriad of lust of the flesh, different aspects of your spirit that you fall short in. So in the process of us becoming that bride in Revelations, that bride that has that white dress on, that white linen dress, we know that white represents what?
Purity.
Righteousness and purity. We understand that. But are we just pure in a couple things that we're strong at? Or have we pursued in our life to fight for righteousness and purity in all of our spirit, in all the multiple different dimensions in our spirit? So, in the process of us trying to develop in these multiple dimensions, it takes discipline. It takes a pure fear of the Lord in order to sustain the discipline required to grow in all of these different aspects, especially the weaker parts of your spirit. I want to kind of take my time to explain before I just jumped into the information. Okay? So now, let's go and read verse 14 again.
God. Ecclesiasticus 32 verse 14.
Once again, the title of the class is dealing with is traits that kill the spirit of growth. What are these habits in us that keep us in this rat race? What are these habits that keep us in this hamster wheel, so to speak? I don't know if you've been in the knowledge long enough to feel yourself in a rut. You just keep running in place, it feels like, because you say the words that I want to change, you say the words that I want to break these nasty, filthy habits, but to actually the act of getting over the hump, so to speak, and to cross over that threshold is very difficult. And what we're going into today are the reasons that it's hard to cross over that threshold. What are the reasons in us that impede us from this growth? So, once again, verse 14 again, sir.
Come, verse 14. Whoso feareth the Lord will receive his discipline.
Whoso feareth the Lord will receive his discipline. Okay, so listen, in order for us to constantly restrain ourselves in areas that we don't want to restrain ourselves, what does it take for a person to truly cross over? You have to truly fear the Lord. And you have to truly have an understanding that the Most High his eyes are 10,000 times brighter than the sun, and that he's looking at everything you're doing. The only way to get up in the morning and fight the things you know you have to fight, there has to be this understanding that the Most High is looking at you. And there has to be a willingness to discipline yourself and restrain yourself for his sake. And that's not even the point I want to drive real quick. I'm trying to paint the landscape first. Because the discipline is the solution. Today is not about the solution. Today is about the problems. We know discipline. Next week, hopefully, if we go into this, we'll really focus on the discipline aspect and the solutions to the problem. But before we can deal with the solutions, we have to deal with the why we keep going through these same repeated cycles of sickness, the same repeated cycles of dependency on things that we know we're not supposed to be dependent on. Okay, so let's continue.
And they that seek him early shall find favor.
So the person that fears the Most High, the person that receives discipline, he's also has the capability to do what? To seek him early. What does seeking him early mean? Does anybody know?
Like seeking him before a problem, before a rut.
Okay, so most of our people seek the Most High after what? After we lose something, after we hit rock bottom, after we've lost something. The person that fears the Most High makes changes ahead of time because they understand that they have to tap into your discipline to grow in the first place. That is so significant of a point. Okay? Now, let's continue.
Verse 15.
So the person that seeks him early shall find favor. Meaning the Most High will give a person a break because there is the spirit of proactiveness in your battle. How many times we operate in this truth so reactionary? I make a mistake, oh, I got to get right. We don't operate in the spirit of staying ahead of things, staying forward and on top of ourselves. Okay? Exactly. Because most people don't change until they hit rock bottom. But let's not, once again, let's continue. Let this thing drive on. Karai, did you get that door, man? You're the closest person to the door. Keep an ear to the sounds. Read on verse 15.
Come, verse 15. He that seeketh the law shall be filled therewith.
So the person that seeks the law, the person that seeks the service of the Most High, shall be filled with strength, shall be filled with all the benefits of holding on to the law. Okay? But, read on.
But the hypocrite will be offended thereat.
He says the hypocrite will be offended thereat. Before we focus on the being offended, let's go into the definition of hypocrite. Now, give me the number one definition of hypocrite.
Hypocrite. I have just one, sir.
In 1828?
Yeah.
There's two.
I got this second.
I want number one. I want number one.
Number one. Okay, come on. One who feigns to be what he is not.
This is one of the major issues that we as Israelites have in our spirit. You might as well just keep it open for the first 30 minutes, and then when it starts to get dark, lock it down. Okay, read that part again.
Hypocrite. One who feigns to be what he is not.
So feigns means who fakes. So a hypocrite is somebody who's faking to be something that he's not. But we're going to find out in this next line how a person feigns to be something that they're not. Because we can see, fake people out in the world, they're fronting, they're acting like a certain way, but they're really not about that life.
Yeah.
But then you'll have Israelites in these doors where there's some fakeration in there too. There's some hypocrisy. There's some fakeration.
They're going to fake it till they make it.
But you know what? And we're going to find out how Israel fakes it amongst other Israelites. Read the next line.
One who has the form of godliness without the power.
So a person who has the form of godliness, a person can establish the form of godliness by wearing the hell out of fringes. boots, fringes. We can say some shalom salutes. We can sprinkle some Hebrew in there. And we can sit back here also quote scriptures. But you know where you can find a hypocrite at? And you know what? There's varying degrees of hypocrisy. But I think there's hypocrisy in all of us. Because the hypocrite is a person who can establish the form of godliness, but not in power. Now, how does a person show godliness and power? One word.
How do they show godliness and power?
No, how does a person show godliness in power?
Discipline? Godliness.
By being the example.
The word is performance. Your performance establishes that you're not a hypocrite. Your execution of the things that you say what establishes if you are a non-hypocritical person or not. A lot of us, I'm around Israelites every day. And you know what? You know one thing I know that's a constant thing? A lot of us are talking about growth. A lot of us talk about change. A lot of us talk about fixing this and working on that, including myself. And it's almost like we tap into the spirit of hyping ourselves up. But the performance isn't as quickly done and executed as the communication of the execution. So one major way to point out hypocrisy is when your words don't match your actions.
So is it like in a game situation when it's time to perform, you get cold feet?
That is a form of it. Shots are not falling. Shots are not falling. A lot of turnovers.
Get the last shot.
Listen, but your money at practice. Your money at practice.
Before the game.
Passes are off the chain. Hey. You're dropping tanks at BP. you're a VP guy, but all of a sudden in the game, strike.
Practice superstar.
Exactly. But you know what the crazy thing is? That's a lot of our people. And we operate in hypocrisy through our communication. And this is one of the major things that keep us from growing. A lot of us talk about what we're going to do, but a lot of us don't follow through on the how to. A lot of us, but why does a person talk about it and not do it? Why does a person just talk about all the growth they're going to do, all their plans and all the good things, all the battles they're going to fight? Why?
Because they want their image to appear more?
It's image, and also what is it? Makes you feel good. I got these plans. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to grow in this.
Sounds great.
And I'm going to sit back and ride to the mountaintop. And I am going to study, and I'm going to study and study. I'm going to read the hell out of this Bible. And you sit back here, you get home, you get your snack. you get your beverage. You sit back here like, stop it. I'm studying right now, all right? Everybody quiet down in the house. We're going to study tonight.
Yeah.
You sit back here, you crack the book open. How long you last before you're knocked out?
Till that phone goes off.
Hey, listen, you going to be like this.
Yeah, update.
You going to be doing this.
Yeah.
All right, so I got this. And then all of a sudden you're reading the same verse for like 15 minutes. I'm not getting any understanding of this verse. So you're on the same chapter like for an hour. Then it's like, I'll get back at it tomorrow. Guess what? You just took an L. You just lost. And then do you really go back the next day to go back at it? No.
Not as vigorous.
Not as vigorous. That's a great way to say it.
Yeah.
They were glancing at scriptures. They were listening to audiobooks.
Yeah.
We're listening to James Earl Jones talk the Bible now on the radio or on the CDs. Because to sit back here, the scripture says the spirit is willing, but the what? Listen, if you're not going to get the results you want in your life until your actions match your words. Now, I'm just bringing out one example of studying. It could be, I'm going to sit back and work on my outlook today. I'm going to sit back here and work on my consideration, my mouth, how I communicate. You name it, the issue still lies. Why did that one person that had the fear of the Lord and that discipline, the reason that he received the Most High's favor was because they seeked him early. They didn't play around with their scenario. A lot of our people operate in the spirit of hypocrisy. A lot of our people feel good that we're talking about getting something done, and we're less concerned with the finishing of a process. And this is how the Most High can really show us, if we're being honest with ourselves, how much of hypocrites we really are.
Would that be, I guess, looked at as that dividing line where he talks about in James, where there's faith without works, and then there's I show you my faith by my works.
That's exactly what
by
it is.
my performance.
Now we're going to go to James towards the end of this portion of the class.
Well, I didn't want to just.
No. I'm glad you did, but that's the truth, because there is a significant difference between hearers and doers, and this is that divide, and this is what keeps people from growing in Christ, is that we have a lot of hearers, but there's not a lot of doing to it. Like I had mentioned before in class, if you look at your spirit horizontally, you'll see all the different issues in it. And it's a lot of stuff to work on. And if there is not this mindset to fight to stay on top of or work on these weak issues and finding and learning strategies, the thing is, we should be learning strategies to actually execute the things that we're actually setting forth. We're wasting time in the eyes of Heavenly Father getting in this rabbit hole and just running in circles and not getting anything accomplished. But we're talking a big game. We're looking all strong in Christ. We're saluting loud as hell, but our execution is very poor and lackluster. Right? Okay. Exactly. We're writing checks we can't cash. Exactly. There's a whole lot of rubbery checks that we're writing in the spirit of Christ. I'm going to be more disciplined. Boom. That chicken. Boom. I'm gonna sit back here and fight my flesh. Boom. Boom.
Let me change the counts.
Listen,
It's like paying back today. I got 2 more.
that's what I'm saying,
Counts
bro.
too.
I'm gonna be more disciplined with my finances. Boom.
Yep.
Boom. And that's just the reality of our scenario.
Right.
Okay. So let's continue. But it says, but the hypocrite will be offended thereat. You know, the hypocrite, which is us in each of us, to be honest with you, why are we offended?
Because we can't match up to our words.
Yeah, well, the things we're doing, we're not getting anything out of it. We're spinning our wheels. That's why we're offended. And we're angry that the Most High don't accept it. How come the Most High ain't coming through? Because you're just talking it, man. You're not. Your words don't match your actions. And why do we have the right to be offended when we're not putting in the work to see the changes? It's insanity.
You think it should be like you should be willing to be a server, such as like Jesus was, to be able to serve. If you're even talking, you know, whatever you're talking is, it should be matching your serving.
You know what? I wasn't going to pull this verse, but you know what? It's serving. It is serving, but it's another word that I think of when I find out why people can't execute anything. Go to Ecclesiasticus 14 and 22.
I'm gonna hold this one, right?
Yes, hold that, sir.
Page 78 in the red pocket.
Hold on 1 second, sir. Gotta do something here. No, it's not what I want. Why does it gotta get all big? What the hell's happening? Okay, give me a second. It was Ecclesiasticus 14 to 22.
When you're ready.
Okay, I'm ready.
Ecclesiastes chapter 14 verse 22. Go after her as one that traces.
Now this is the situation. If we're going to sit back here and pursue wisdom, if we're going to actually try to grow, the only way you grow, you have to be a pretty damn good tracer. What are we tracing? We're tracing brothers and sisters in Christ who operate in arenas better than us. A lot of us don't want to follow. A lot of us don't want to, let me give you 1 second. A lot of us don't want to follow a better example than ours. A lot of people don't want to, because it is about serving, but how do you serve in this arena where I'm trying to grow? I'm serving by being the best follower I can be. And you know, we tell ourselves, I'm not that person. That's not me.
Not a follower.
That's what, no, well, that too, but you know what, that works for them. That's a way to justify me not learning how to add a talent or an ability to me. If somebody supersedes my ability, I just most of them I just tip my cap. Oh, he's better than me. They just do it better than me. Okay. Or can you sit back and learn to trace? Why does he do it better than me? Nobody wants to ask that question. Why does this person do it better than me? What is it that I'm lacking that I need to learn how to do better to get to where they're at? And that's where you find the pride at. You find the selfishness at. Then you find other elements that we're going to talk about in that too. What you going to say, sir?
No, what I was going to add on to is, this is what Paul was saying in 1 Corinthians 12 and verse 31. This is what the idea of tracing the wisdom or tracing the ways. Can you get that real quick? 1 Corinthians 12 and 31. The idea of tracing is desiring or wanting to be what the person you are following after is, or who he is, what characteristics he has that's better than yours. Get that for me real quick.
That's a good one. Yeah, read that. 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 31.
God. 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 31. But covet earnestly.
Covet, desire, earnestly, what?
The best gifts.
The best gifts.
Now, that is also means that earnestly means in all sincerity.
Exactly.
Are you serious about growing, or
growth.
you are just in the spirit of competition?
Exactly.
Do I really want to learn and add another talent to my ability, or am I just sitting back here? I'm envious and I don't want to look bad. I want this person to make me look bad, so I'm gonna act like I'm tracing, but I'm really in competition with this brother. It's not about superficial competition. What it's about is I'm earnestly just want to grow and be better at what I do.
You know, because the Most High also knows how strong your desire, what your heart truly says. That's why a lot of brothers, they'll be trying to follow after the best example. They'll be trying to trace or cover the best gifts, but their desire to get those gifts, to get those abilities, isn't where the Most High wants it to be. It's really because I want to be on top of that, man. Or I want to have wiser
exactly.
I want to pull better verses in him.
Because that's where it's at the competition aspect.
Exactly.
People sit back here and get in this race because they just want to be over them and rank in position.
Exactly.
It's not earnestly. Because if it's about earnestly learning, wanting to learn how to grow, you'll let aside all your pride and you'll just stop thinking. Because the thing is that all of us have our own set of ideas of how things should be, what they should be. Instead of just learning how to say, okay, this person's entire approach is better than mine. I'm always going to have my approach. Let me let go of my approach and follow this approach. And that is how you show the Most High that you're earnest and you're sincere about your pursuit to trace or to covet the abilities that they have that surpasses you. Right?
That's what, there's a thin line between tracing and then covetousness.
Well, listen. There's nothing wrong with coveting or wanting a person's ability if it's in the right spirit.
Okay.
And it's not in the spirit of envy. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to
speaking
pull
for you. I'm
definition
taking
of
out
it.
words out of
No,
your mouth.
it's cool because to covet means to desire, wish for, with eagerness. So if you're trying to covet a brother's memory, right? A brother told me he wanted to get a better memory. He wants to get a better memory to help people when he comes across in the street. Hey, this is why we follow the law, such as the Most High. This is why we're my friends. This is why we don't do Christmas. He wants a better memory to teach and be a better example.
Right.
That's a great gift to covet. Now, brother wants to get more wisdom, better memory, so he can sit here and start checking brothers, on the fly, because he just thinks, this brother's wicked. I gotta have these bars on TV.
I gotta maintain dominance.
I gotta show him.
I will establish
all day,
dominance
every
by
day.
all the verses that I can spew forth out of my face.
Yeah, and that's what brothers start studying their words. I know the verse is there in somewhere. Nah, the Most High ain't giving you that. Because it's not in the right spirit. And that's what we're talking about. To covet earnestly, sincerely, the best gifts. If the gift you want is memory, the gift you want is strength, is example, there's got to be a positive reason why you want those gifts in the first place.
Because Most High always measures the heart.
Exactly.
And why we do what we do. So listen, once again, I don't want to focus as much on the solution. I want to focus on the hypocrisy. Okay. We'll get into the solutions down the line, but the reality is it's important that we paint out how we operate psychologically, so each and every one of us can ask ourselves, are we falling into that path? Am I sitting back here when I'm operating, do I sit back here and do a lot of talking but my actions aren't changing? Or am I really sitting back here and meditate? Because in order to transfer from words once to actions, what do you think has to happen? I'm honestly asking. In order to to transition from just I want to do something to actually doing something, what does it take to do that?
You gotta be able to shed off that old man, with your old habits. That old man, those old habits you gotta turn away from that.
Hate your weakness.
No doubt. What's that?
I said you gotta hate your weakness.
But you know what the crazy thing is? How does a person show that they hate their weakness? What's the number one thing that you do? If you really hate your weakness, what do you do?
So you stop running from it.
How does a person stop running from it?
Confront it.
How does a person confront it?
Admit they have
How does who does a
Stop.
person confess to?
Stop avoiding it and go towards it. They have to fight the battle and quit running from it.
Well, that's true. But but listen, the thing is this. Everything you're saying is about not quitting, not fighting the battle, not running from it. That's true. But who do you do that? Who do you communicate and convey that to?
The person is overcome.
The person has already overcome what you haven't overcome. If you're trying to learn piety as a sister, positive outlooks, why are you telling the sister who thinks negative?
No piety yet. She got no.
Why we always tell sisters when we're a young sister, don't talk to young sisters? Why?
Because they're figuring it out.
Because the young sister's trying to figure it out too, so she don't have the answer for you. So why are you bring sister who's only been there for 2 years? I have a lot of negative going on. What do you think about these negative outlooks?
I feel the same.
I too am angry. I knew I was right.
I understand.
I knew how I felt was right.
I concur.
Good night. Like, what are you doing?
That's the instant gratification. I feel better now.
Because that means a person is a hypocrite. Oh, did you counsel with sister? Yes, I did.
Yes, I did.
Yes, I counseled.
I did.
I counseled with the sisterin of Yahushai. And I learned a lot of things, a great many of things. Like, come on.
Yeah, you knew who not to call.
Listen, it's like people know exactly who to call to get what they want. You can be 5 days in, you already spotted the weak one. You come in, you know the person who's on the edge and is iffy, and it's like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You know the person who's only there for her husband. How about that one? It's like you're spotted. That's the one. We're gonna be best of buds. You and me. Did we just become best friends? Did we just become best friends? Did that just happen? Did that just happen?
You need a ride?
You need a ride, sis? That's a good one.
Oh my goodness! But this is all the truth.
Let's carpool.
Let's carpool. Let's talk all the time about the weaknesses in both of us. This happens all the time in Israel. It is expressed. It shows and it proves that Israel is not about trying to grow. And this is why we're painting the picture about the mindsets and the traits of a person that's not trying to grow. This is how they think. They say that they want to grow, but their actions don't mirror that person. It tells you in Ecclesiastes 6, you're supposed to wear out the doorsteps of the wise person. You're supposed to go to the person that's going to tell it to you the rawest and to tell you what you got to change and how to do it. But people don't want to do that. People don't want to trace that person because we want to color like this. We don't want to color. We want to color between the lines. We don't want to get the picture. We don't want to sit back and learn how to be detailed and specific, because you can tell how mature a young child is by how they color. Does the child sit back here and whatever little image they have, do they darken the outside edges and then lighten the inside? That means they really care. You know what I mean? They really care about the image. When you got this kid, all the colors is dark, one color everywhere. You're crossing over lines. You don't give a shit about that picture. Hey, Daddy, I made the picture. You're like, it's great, son. I'm gonna put this on. I'm gonna put this one on the fridge. And you're like, this is some old bullshit, but I'm gonna do it. I said, next time, son, let's go stay in these lines. Let's stay in the confines. Let's make it. Okay, Daddy, and he needs some time. But we operate with that same horrible actions and work ethic, but we tell ourselves we're doing something more than that. And the only person that we're fooling is who? Ourselves. So let's continue in Ecclesiastes 32. No matter of fact, finish the tracing part in 14.
Ecclesiastes 14:22. Go after her as one that traces, and lie in wait in her ways.
You know what? I mean, he says to lie in wait into doing things the right way. That means you have accepted that this is going to be the new way. Like, it's just the new normal. You're going to sit back here and accept this is the new normal? Or are we trying to continue to go back to what we like to do? This is the question. This is the real hard question about life. Are you trying to be a new creature in Christ or not? If we are trying to be a new creature in Christ, what I was asking your brothers about the communication, it's how thorough are you in your communication? So if you say, I admit that I have these issues, then what's the next step? How much do you talk about and talk strategy to people who are superior in something in you? It's not just good enough to say, you know what, I have a problem. You're right. I'm going to change. You have to sit back and completely change your way. Your way has to die. You have to be a new person, a new creature. This is what 14:22 is saying. And all that, no, I'm sorry, I'm jumping in, I'm still on 33. 14 and 22, once again, it says, go after her as one that traceth and be in wait in her ways. That means once you learn this approach, stay in that new method until you see the positive results. That means I am committed to a new way of looking at things. I am committed to a new way of dealing with things. How many times do we try new things and try uncomfortable things, and we just put our little pinky toe in the water and, oh, it's cold, I'm not doing that no more. And we'll never see the growth. You have to decide, I'm going to do this. This is going to be my new way. Listen, why am I saying this with so much damn fervency? Because I know how hard it is to transition permanently in something. It ain't easy. Especially when you're transitioning in something that you're not comfortable doing. It's hard damn work. I understand. But if we don't sit back here and continue to exhort each other, because the exhortation is just purely motivation. This is what we do here in San Antonio. What do we have to do for each other to motivate us to get back on greater paths? To be a better version of what you were 5 years ago, 2 years ago, 1 year ago. Somebody has to fire you up with the hope and anticipation that you take that inspiration and ride with it and make it a new way. Make it your way. Can you make wisdom your way? What's wisdom? To correct application of knowledge. Can you make the correct way of doing things your way? Versus saying, that's not my way, that comes naturally to that person. Because that's what we always say. Anybody who's more successful in something than us will say, oh, this person's just more successful. They're better. This is natural to them. And because you say it's natural, that's your excuse to do what? To not commit yourself to it. It's just that simple. This is why we justify not growing. Okay. So, now we go back to Ecclesiastes 32.
Verse 16 or 15?
16.
Come.
No, I want 15. You're right.
Come. Ecclesiastes 32 verse 15. He that seeketh the law shall be filled therewith.
This still deals with that pursuance. Are we going to seek the law? We're going to seek change. How serious are we in our pursuits? Read on.
But the hypocrite will be offended thereat.
The hypocrite talks about something, but his actions don't fit behind his words. And he's offended. What's the hypocrite? What is the hypocrite offended at? That what they've done hasn't produced the results that they're looking for.
Hasn't came into a service.
And it hasn't worked out. Their efforts and their planning still hasn't come to fruition the way they expected. Because they talk one thing, but their preparation is another. Their level of commitment is another. Okay? Continue.
Come. Verse 16. They that fear the Most High shall find judgment.
So now that verse kind of sounds weird. It says, they that fear the Lord shall find judgment. Why would a person that fears the Lord find judgment? There's more than one definition to judgment. So let's go to 18:28. They that fear the Lord shall find judgment. Give me definition 7.
Judgment.
They that fear the Lord shall find judgment. Read on.
Judgment in Scripture. Verse, not 7.
I said
Verse 7.
Number 7.
Number 7, Salaki. The spirit of wisdom and prudence.
So a person, it says, they that fear the Lord, so that person who desires discipline. Because we know fear the Lord equals discipline, right? So that person who desires discipline shall find what? The spirit of wisdom and prudence, enabling a person to discern right and wrong, good and evil. The process of pursuing prudence and wisdom is how hard you seek it. How hard you seek to understand it. How hard you seek to where it makes complete sense to you. Where you don't got it, it's just natural to you at that point. We always say, I can't operate like this person because it's just natural to them. If we're going to sit back here and gain wisdom, we have to sit back and operate in wisdom until it's natural to us. That's the point. If you're going to grow, that means Growth in the eyes of the Most High is I have started. Well, listen, I can't say it that way. Growth is just change. I'm not going to sit back here and trivialize a person changing. But the ultimate goal that we're shooting for is for wherever we're not strong at to be something that operates as a natural thing. That's what we're all striving to achieve. Can I make something that I'm really uncomfortable and weird in? Can I make it to where I'm really good at it? Why else are we here living on earth if we're not sitting right here working on perfecting the things that we do every day? So anyway, let's continue out that definition. Read verse 16 again.
God, Ecclesiastes chapter 32, verse 16. They that fear the Lord shall find judgment, and shall kindle justice as a light.
And shall kindle justice as a light. That just means, you know, it even tells you in Matthew about how we're that city on the hill. The law, justice, standing up for what's right and wrong, would anchor us and will make us that beacon to all the people who are looking for justice and judgment. Okay, read on.
Verse 17. A sinful man will not be reproved.
Now this ties in with that hypocrite. The hypocrite in us. I want to make sure we're clear about saying that about us. We all have hypocrisy in us. None of us in this room or on TV land is without hypocrisy. Okay? We say something and we don't live by what we say. Or the things that we say, there's no power behind it. There's no power, meaning there's no performance behind some of our words. Some of the things we say we stand for. So, with all that being said, read verse 17.
A sinful man will not be reproved.
The problem with the sinful man or sinful woman is that we refuse to receive correction. Why? Yeah, but keep on.
But findeth an excuse according to his will.
The issue is we're constantly making excuses for why we don't change. It's always somebody else's fault. What kills Israel is we're not accountable for our actions. So listen, these are the negative elements. The hypocrite in us. We say we're going to try to change something. We say we're going to make these adjustments, but what do we end up doing? We don't change like we say we're going to change. Then there's that excuse maker in us and always has another reason as to why we can't fight. It's always somebody else that's keeping me from being in order. That's how you know a person is full of you know what. And a person really isn't trying to grow. Either I say things and I don't live it, or I make excuses for why I can't change. There's a lack of an accountability that the Most High sees in us. These are the reasons we don't get things done. These are the reasons we're in the truth for 5-10 years and don't make changes. And don't see the results from changes. And we're constantly offended about the fact that this truth thing ain't working. Half the reason the truth thing don't work is because you're not working it properly. But you have to at least get to the point where you can realize that you're the problem. And this is the problem with us. We can't even get to the point that we're the problem. I have dealt and counseled and taught men and women for years. The hardest problem with counseling brothers and sisters is that it takes them years to realize that they're the problem. And I'm not even lying. Scripture says thy own wickedness shall what?
Correct.
But because most of the time it takes us forever to figure that one thing out. And then once you figure it out, man, then all of a sudden the rest of it isn't as hard. Most of us can't realize that we're our own worst nightmare. And we self-sabotage everyone and everybody around us. But let's continue. So verse 17 again.
God, a sinful man will not be reproved, but findeth an excuse according to his will.
The sinful person is always trying to find excuses, never owns up to responsibility. Okay, read on.
Verse 18. A man of counsel will be considerate, but a strange and
no, I messed up. I got to go into this hypocrite thing a little more. My apologies. I don't know why I skipped it. I'm talking and I'm going and I'm rolling and I'm writing verses and I'm missing points. I need us to go to Job chapter Yeah. Give me Job 8 and 13.
Coming back to Ecclesiastes.
No, we're going to stay in Ecclesiasticus. I'll be calling on you very soon. But there's a couple verses that I missed in the process of explaining. I jumped out of hypocrisy a little early. My apologies. I normally would just let it go and just keep going in the topic, but I think it's important that we go back. Okay? Job 8 and 13.
Job chapter 8 verse 13 read.
Because this hypocrite is no different than the part of us that lies to ourselves and doesn't want to take accountability. Okay? So read this. Job 8 and 13.
So are the paths of all that forget the Most High.
So these are the paths of the people that forget the Most High, that forget the Most High's way, that forgets the Most High's discipline, that forgets the Most High's fear. Okay? Read on.
And the hypocrites' hope shall perish.
The hypocrite's hope is going to perish because there's no power behind their conduct. There's no power behind their works. There's no power behind their words. It's just words. Too many of us come into this truth and they never see the value of this work because we go through the motions. We talk, but we don't focus on performance enough. We don't focus on what it takes to physically change a little bit every day. We go through the motions, we skim over things, we operate so surface, and we miss the point and the value of this whole work because we don't take the time to get understanding, and we don't take the time to get clarity and to figure out how to change from one person to another. So because of that, it says the hypocrite's hope shall perish. After a certain period of time, if you're not in this work and you don't work to make changes and significant changes in your mind, your hope is going to perish also. This is why men quit. If you don't see the value of making these changes and living this life, you're going to say this is a waste of my time. Let me sit back here and move on to quote unquote bigger and better things. That happens when you haven't taken the time to study and learn application. I want to make sure I brought that point on the topic. And then another part is in 2 Corinthians chapter 8 verse 10 and 11. We're going back to you, Nathaniel, in Ecclesiastes, I promise.
2 Corinthians chapter 8 verse 10. And herein I give my advice.
Now this is Paul giving advice as to how we can optimally use and take advantage of our time serving the Most High. Read on.
For this is expedient for you.
It's important that we take this serious. Read on.
Who have begun before.
So who have begun to start serving the Most High. Read on.
Not only to do, but also to be forward a year ago.
And if we take the mindset of being forward a year ago, it eliminates us wasting time. It gets us more focused on how to change our habits, how to change our day-to-day, minute-to-minute thought processes to get to a greater goal. Working on being forward a year ago, that means being ahead of schedule. Being ahead. Israel as a whole operates to what? Reactionary.
The present moment.
It's present moment. We're always reacting to things.
Catching up.
We never stay on top of things.
Trying to catch up.
Exactly. We're always catching up, and then when you're trying to catch up, something always happens with your plans. There's always a monkey wrench thrown in what you're doing because you're never just on top of yourself, your business, your responsibilities, everything around you. Paul said, man, listen, if it was me, my advice is to be forward a year ago. But that's a mindset. That's a mentality that sisters and brothers have to take on. You know what? Every day, there's work. Listen, for those of y'all who want to be teachers, you know what? Can we all take the mindset of every day I need to be learning something? I'm in that same boat right now. Every day I'm on the hook for learning something new. The only way to grow as a teacher is you got to keep acquiring understanding. You have to keep acquiring lessons. And can you keep in the back of your mind, can we as brothers and sisters, especially brothers for teachers, can you keep in the back of your mind this internal clock that's saying, hey man, I know you want to relax right now, but are you comfortable with your classes? You know you have to get this class. And then after you get one class, is there that an internal clock that says, you know what about the next one? You got to be able to teach brothers your basics. And then can you sit back here? Are you comfortable teaching inner man? Are you comfortable teaching Revelations, Daniel's chapters? Do you know your history? Can you go and teach Sabbath classes? Do you have a well-rounded scope of your classes from Genesis all the way through the Old Testament? How are you in your Gospels? Now, at this point, most of our heads are like, like, and those cartoons like, all that exhaust, and that hot air is kicking out of your ears. Because you know what? I understand that the process of tackling all these concepts are exhausting. But you know what? Instead of being overwhelmed with the magnitude of these responsibilities, can you just say, you know, every day, the Most High's getting his. Every day I'm going to study. Because it has to get done. Either I'm going to do it every day and take on this mindset of being 40 years ago, or I'm going to break down. And I'm going to sit back and I'm going to say, this is too hard, this is too much, I can't handle it. Why am I going through all this? And this is in every aspect of your life. Are we going to take change and growth serious, or are we just going to talk and not perform? Okay? Yeah.
You know, what I realized in the beginning growing this truth, at first when you're younger, you're trying to get comfortable in the truth. There's a lot of, little battles you're fighting. It seems extremely overwhelming. But the one thing I realized early was there's always something I can achieve. There's always something that can get done. Whether it be, for instance, you mentioned the basic breakdowns. You can do a basic breakdown. Even if you've done a basic breakdown 50 times, there's always something new you can get out of reading the same class, the same verse over and over again. There's a new understanding that can be unfolded. Or you want to get even deeper. You want to get wisdom, you want to get history knowledge, you want to get apocalyptic blitz knowledge. There's so many more things that you can do and accomplish every single day. But a lot of us tell ourselves, when we have our off days especially, I just don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. For me, it's too much, so I'll just say I don't do it all. Because it's so much, I'm just going to completely not do anything. And I'll try again tomorrow. That'll be tomorrow me's problem.
But you know what, the crazy thing is just start with one thing and finish it.
Yeah.
And then go to the next thing and finish it. And go to the next thing and finish it. But can we live a life like that? Can we live a life about setting goals and finishing them? Setting goals and finishing them. Setting new goals and finishing them. Because that's what it's going to take. To be 40 years ago, you like that Kill Bill list? Can you make a spiritual Kill Bill list, Doc? Like, we're going to Japan to kill this broad.
Yeah.
And these crazy 88s. Now listen, can we sit back here and work on a laundry list of my issues or a laundry list of classes and just knock them out? And every day, just let me take a step towards knocking this goal out. Can we just practice being goal orientated so we can end up being forward and ahead of time? It's so important. But let's continue. In Corinthians.
It's like
Read it from the top. Yeah, read 10 from
And herein I give my advice, for this is expedient for you, who begun before, not only to do, but also to be forward a year ago.
Read on. We're going to read to verse 12.
Now therefore, perform the doing of it.
So, but once again, it's that doing of it. The performance is not that easy. In order to perform what you're saying, in order to not be that hypocrite, there has to be a lot of work, a lot of preparation, a lot of dedication, a lot of sincerity, and a lot of just commitment. What are we doing in this work if we're not going to take it that serious? Why live this life that's not easy if we're not going to put the work in to see the results of this hard work? Why live and work hard and then not see the benefit of your hard work? It just doesn't make sense. But keep going. I don't want to harp too much on this. Continue.
Verse 11. Now therefore perform the doing of it, that as there was a readiness to will.
But see, once again, a lot of us have a readiness to do it. A lot of us want to do it. A lot of us say we want to do it. Read on.
So there may be a performance also.
There's that performance word, that power word. How to get it from a willingness to a performance. How do you get your spirit in the situation you go through from what you want to do to the actual performance of what you want to do? That challenge is the difference between people who grow and who just stay stagnant forever. You understand?
Come.
How do we get out of ready mode to performance mode? Read on.
So there may be a performance also out of that which ye have.
Read on.
For if there be first a willing mind, it is accepting according to the man that hath, and not according to he that hath not.
The Most High just wants you and wants all of us to make a decision that we're going to make a change and change it. He's not asking us to be what another person is yet. Can you sit back here, set a goal, and finish it? Can you start and finish something? Once you get to the core of why we don't grow, most of us are quitters by birth. Most of us have never learned how to finish things in the world. Most of us have never been taught, never been encouraged, never been taught critical thinking skills, have lacked motivation, have lacked incentive and work ethic. There's a lot of reasons why. But a lot of us suffer from not being able to finish what we start. And then we're astounded and we're upset why things don't work in our life. Why life is so difficult. Well, there is life in the world, life in the truth. You have to start and finish something. You have to set a goal and learn how to complete something. Most of us lack that ability, but that's why we don't grow. That lack of an ability to start and finish is the hypocrisy in us. And if we don't learn how to break that hypocrisy in us, you'll never see the growth in this work. You understand? Okay. Now we go back to Ecclesiastes 32, and we'll jump back down to verse 18 now. Ecclesiastes 32 and verse 18. Now you understand why I had to go back to those verses, because they fit in like a glove. So Ecclesiastes 32, 18 and 19.
Come, Ecclesiastes 32, verse 18.
Matter of fact, give me 18 and 19.
Come, verse 18.
I was just telling Elisha to do that. You're good. Go, sir.
A man of counsel will be considerate, but a strange and proud man is not daunted with fear.
Mm-hmm.
Even when of himself he hath done without counsel.
God, but keep going.
Verse 19. Do nothing without advice, and when thou hast once done, repent not.
What we have to understand is what helps us eliminate that spirit of having excuses, what helps us break that spirit of hypocrisy, is predicated on the type of counselors we keep around us. This is why the scripture says do nothing without advice. Because if you just make your decisions and operate on your island, this issue that we have about the hypocrisy, the issue that we have about the excuses, is just amplified. The only way to neutralize the excuse making is to have people around you reminding you what? That you're making excuses. Somebody's got to keep telling you, listen, bro, that's an excuse. You're not being accountable. You're sitting back here, Eric, all I hear you do is chirp about studying, but you never study. I never see you read books. There's a lot of Israelites that don't read books. I'm telling you, how the hell are we going to sit back here and be Bible scholars and we don't read books? The Bible is not going to be in comic book form, y'all. I'm serious. We're not reading the Marvel Avengers Act. We have to actually read books and read words with no pictures in it. And I'm not clowning. There was a little jab, but I'm not really clowning. We're looking at picture books. We got to read books. You know what the truth is? We have to read books until it's not a challenge to read books. What's the saying about black people? You want to hide something from them? What? Put in a book.
You put your
Yeah,
life savings in a book.
that
Your
book is
problem
not
is stolen.
it's going to be dusty as hell in the bookshelf. The bookshelf's going to be dusty as hell. Ain't nobody looking at no books. Books.
That's why they made those little secret
Books.
books that are hollowed out.
Yeah, listen. That's the point. You're not going to read it.
They ain't gonna look in there. Hide your valuables in, the bookcase.
It's really sad, but that's a discipline that Israel has to learn how to tap into also. The only way you break it is how much you read and how relentless you are in breaking that spirit. The first thing you got to break is the spirit of tiredness. You ain't got to say it out loud, but when you start reading books, how many minutes does it take before you start falling asleep? You ain't got to say it.
Hey, there's something in that because there's something, and you spoke
It
on
is.
it. You spoke on it earlier, and this is what I noticed through just experience in life. When you're trying to learn something, that knowledge gets on your brain, and it'll drain you.
Yep, it is.
It'll drain you.
Yes.
And I'm trying to figure
It's
out.
all fact. Listen,
how to
it's
get
easier.
past that.
It's easier to lift boxes and bricks
Yeah.
than to sit back and lock your brain down and read words.
Yeah.
I can prove it. I've lived it.
Hey.
Until you sit back here and recondition your mind to do so. Think about this. We're not as potent as David was. We're not as potent as the greats in Israel. David wasn't walking around here with a small pocket Bible in his back pocket. He wasn't doing that. But he was rock steady, and he was strong, and he was potent. He was like, oh man, I got these negative lust thoughts. What verse we gonna pull? He wasn't doing that. He just sat back here, and his faith and his alacrity took him as far as it took him. When you're reading the book of Esdras, and that was the time of Ezra was after the fall of Babylon, during the reconstruction, when we were already sent back. Babylon lost to the Persians.
Yeah.
The Persians came over. King Darius says, you know what? I'm going to let y'all go back to y'all hometown, rebuild the temple. Now, in the process of the rebuilding of the temple, there were a lot of different nations and factions that didn't want that to happen. Point is that in the process of that, the Most High told Ezra, listen, man, the generation that you guys are nothing compared to the generations before. He said, listen, y'all dudes is pretty much garbage in comparison to what David and Solomon and Adam and Abraham and Moses were. Now just imagine us. Now Ezra was so potent. Ezra was of a lower level than those guys. And this guy was knocking out 40 days of fasting like it was nothing. Angel was like, man, fast for this period of time and I'll give you the understanding of that. And then he'll get the understanding and he'll ask more questions, fast more times, and you'll get the understanding for the next one. To the point where he wrote 204 extra books of wisdom. And he said, out of those 204, 80 can't be given to the world. That's just for you. That's for real. He was like, that was just for you. That can't go to everybody.
Save those.
Huh?
Save those.
You got to hide those.
Those is in your back pocket because that's not, the rest of the world can't handle that. And he was on a lower level than the other guys.
Wow.
So my point is, us now, we better be reading the hell out of Bible verses. We better be reading, because we're on a lesser caliber. We're worse off than them. That's how we are when we got to read the Bible. That's how we sound when we had to study for longer than 15 minutes. You know the kids that want to go over, they get stiff like a board. No, they get stiff and they start dragging. You gotta slide them. That's how we are. We gotta read the Bible for like longer than 30 minutes. It's the truth.
But it's crazy when it's something that we want.
Of course,
it's easy.
Of course.
And it was something that I really noticed in 1 Corinthians, just on your point. In 1 Corinthians 9:27. This was Paul. It was his determination for the end product. He knew what he was. Yeah, it's 9:27.
1 Corinthians chapter 9 verse 27. When you're ready.
Read.
but I keep under my body.
He says, I keep my flesh under control.
Mhm.
I keep my focus.
Mhm.
And now let me tell you why
Uh-huh.
I keep my focus.
Mhm.
Read.
And bring it into
I
subjection.
keep it in subjection. I keep myself under control. But why?
Lest that by any means, when I have preached to others,
When I've done all this work, what?
I myself should be a castaway.
He said, I know what the end goal is.
Mhm.
And I don't want to miss the prize.
And that castaway is that hypocrite.
I don't want to be looked at.
You don't want to be. Listen, we're only relevant if your words are matching your life. As leaders, as teachers, as brothers, you know, in the rap game, you're only as good as your last album. Listen, in the Israelite game, you're only as good as the last time you've been an example.
Are you about what you're talking about?
Listen, the streets tell it to you.
God.
In Israel's world, it's the same way. Are you really about it? Exactly. Listen, that was the murder anthem in clubs back in the day. I was playing around 140, and you knew somebody was gonna get shot when Body Body came out. For y'all young dudes, when that Body Body by Master P, it was a problem.
Kind of scary.
It was problems. And people would start throwing they set tripping. It's like, oh, I can get out of here, bro. And Body Body comes out. Point is this.
So
That's a little flashback for all those 90s people.
So, and that's what you're saying. All these people, when he's preaching and he's seeing, and people are changing.
Yep.
He's helping people through their problems.
Mhm.
They're growing. Those are the accolades that he can appreciate. He said, but I don't want to be a hypocrite and be the reason why.
Yeah,
He can
exactly.
be on the other side.
Because what happens is this: if I'm not living what I'm saying, then I'm a justification not to change.
Exactly.
My conduct in my life is a reason not to push myself to the limit. So this is why you stay on top of yourself. This is why you fight to be that end sample. Okay. So what the point is, it still goes back to that performance and that desire to perform and make your words fit your performance. So let's get back. I don't want to lose too much.
Verse 20.
Yeah, let's get to verse 20, bro. No, not that. So the point of what we brought out from verse 18 and verse 19 was about doing nothing without advice. And if you really want to neutralize that hypocrisy in us, if you want to neutralize that the excuse making, align yourself with people that can continue to push you to strength through counsel and their work ethic, right? From that verse, I want to go to Proverbs 27 and verse 17. Proverbs 27 and 17, Kariah, let's get that. Nah, we're good, bro. I think it's going to be okay, man.
Proverbs chapter 27 and verse 17.
Listen up. I did it too, but you can't put that much liquid in it because it kills it. That's too much oil. It always does that. Read that.
Come. Iron sharpeneth iron, so a man sharpeneth the countenance of his friend.
Listen, iron sharpens iron, and this is why you need strong people around you to check you on your weak stuff. And if we embrace being around people that's going to bring out the strength in us, then we can actually grow and exceed our expectation. This is why the culture that we try to set up is always to push people past their strength. We're never going to sit back here and accept weakness in ourselves or the people around us, because that does no one any good. If I placate your weakness, if you placate my weakness, none of us grows. None of us gets anything accomplished. And that's why we operate the way that we operate. Now, let that verse go. Go to James chapter 1 and 22. And this verse is going to segment into the other part of our class. So James chapter 1 and verse 22.
James chapter 1 verse 22. But be ye doers of the word, and not hearers only.
Yep, so listen, Paul is saying, be doers of the word, and not hearers only. Because that's what a lot of times, that's what that hypocrisy or the spirit of hypocrisy is. We'll hear it, we won't execute it. We'll listen, but the performance isn't there. So Paul is like, hear it and do it. Read on.
Deceiving your own selves.
He says, but be ye doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves. And that's the reason. That's another element as to why we as Israelites and we as spiritual people don't ever change, and why that growth element is lacking in us, because there's hypocrisy. We say it, we don't do it. There is the excuse making, and then another major one is that we lie. We're major liars. We lie like a mug. And this is what Paul is saying. He's like, listen, man, be a hearer and a doer and stop lying to yourself. But that's a problem, because most of us hate ourselves so much, we don't want to deal with properly evaluating where we are truly in our life. And because we don't want to sit back here and operate and deal in realities, what do we all do? Not all, a lot of us. We create fantasies. The lie is we create this fantasy. Well, it's sugar-coated, but we create this whole new world. We create an alternative candy land. In our world, everything's good. Yes, sunshine, lollipops. Yes, sis?
Is it like a subconscious self-hatred? Because I don't think we go around and go, I really hate myself, so I'm just gonna lie. Like, is it just something that's not something that we don't recognize that we do?
I think it's a little bit of both. Some of it is self-conscious, but others, you ever like been backed into a corner and somebody's really seen you, or somebody's really showing you, what do? How do you react to when somebody, when all, listen, you keep running and somebody finally shows you?
Anger. And because of the anger, it's up under that is fear. Fear
Exactly.
that you've been exposed.
Exactly.
On something.
It's all that.
It's like self-preservation.
Right.
And then it's self-preservation, because most people can't handle seeing themselves for as, I don't want to say diminished, but as lacking as they are. It is a very humbling, fearful position, a very vulnerable place to be in. So in order for a person to protect that vulnerability, they lie. But, let's finish in a second, that vulnerability is called what? Pride. It's really pride. Because I don't want to look bad. So we create these alternative situations to hide from reality. What you going to say?
No, I just kind of want to point out the other side of that, because there is an aspect of lying to protect our oneself, but some people truly despise, or rather dislike, their carnal side. And you read about that in get it real quick. It's Romans chapter 7 and verse 14. Because the reality, this is what Paul was saying. Paul was admitting the fact that he has deficiencies in his spiritual growth. He wants to exceed his level of excellency, but he knows he has shortcomings. And this is a lot of times when you grow in this truth, you start seeing the flaws in front of you. It's like, man, I wish I didn't have this ailment. I wish I didn't have this lackluster spirit, or this lack of discipline, or this lack of fortitude. Read that real quick.
Romans chapter 7 verse 14. For we know that the law is spiritual.
We know that the law, the wisdom that we get from reading the scriptures, is spiritual. Read.
But I am carnal, sold under sin.
What does that mean? The law, the information that I'm receiving is on point, but I'm not on point. And because I'm not on point, this causes discontent in ourselves. This is where that inner frustration comes from. Read on.
Verse 15. For that which I do, I allow not.
I don't want the people around me doing the things that I personally do, or I fall short of. Because I know it's a negative. I know there's no positive or there's no spiritual gain from the flaws that are inside me. Read on.
For what I would, that I do not. But what I hate, that I do.
Exactly. And this is explaining the fact of being, especially in a situation of being a teacher. When you're trying to show a man their flaws, their inner weakness, a lot of times it's easy to point it out because that's something you've had to overcome yourself. Or you took an extremely long time to fight. And that's why you're so adamant about getting that brother corrected. That's why he's so adamant about getting him to change and see him, because that was the issue that you had for so long. That was your shortcoming in the truth. That was why you couldn't grow. It took you years and years and years to finally wake up. Oh, this is why I was negative, or this is why I couldn't grow. This is where that spirit of frustration, that inner hate comes from. So I know I personally had that situation where I'm like, I can't get past this certain ailment, so I'm gonna be stuck here until I figure this out. And I'm gonna read and read and read until the Most High finally opens my eyes.
But see, your stance is acknowledging what's in front of you and having a preparedness to gnaw at it and grind away until you get it. A lot of us don't grab life by the bullhorns, like, so to speak. Mm-hmm. A lot of us sit back here are used to making excuses. Once again, normally I'll go into the solution phase. Today we're kind of gonna go into the symptom phase. Right. These are the actions of a person that's not growing. These are the habits of a person who is falling short. The person that falls short and can't figure it out is because they're operating from a stance of, I don't want to face me. I don't want to face how deficient I am. I don't want to face how bad I am. I don't want to face how behind I am. That's a real thing for a lot of people. I don't want to feel inadequate. I hate looking stupid. I hate looking behind. So let me do everything I can do to hide where I'm deficient. We've taught brothers who couldn't read. You know how major of a thing that is? You can't. You're in Bible class and you're hearing words spoken all damn day long, and you're just faking it. Yeah, that's a good verse. I'm like, man, you're faking it, and we don't even know a brother couldn't read for like months. I'm like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah. Audio Bible.
No, but it's audio Bible, guy. But the shit. Listen, you know what the reality is? If the brother would have said, I can't do this, then maybe the councils would have started coming out about, you got to start maybe going to night school, maybe going into a place where you can just start learning how to read. There's programs out here all the time for these things. But I don't want to look bad and look like the dummy and look like somebody shaking their head at me. Oh, everybody's going to judge me. You know how many times people don't say anything because they're afraid of being judged? Listen, because they feel, listen, how many times brothers are they're on the precipice of sinning. And they say, doing all right, bro? I'm doing good. What? You're like right on the edge of pure sin. And the brother, hey, what's going on? Are you doing good? Oh, I'm great. I'm doing good in the spirit. What?
Brother, help.
Why didn't you just say, man, I'm really weak right now. I feel like, really breaking some laws today. I feel like breaking the law today. How about that one? Can I report that one up the chain of command? I feel like breaking laws tonight. How come nobody does that? We always get called, oh man, I got weak. Like, you was with us all damn day. How come you didn't tell us you was weak then? Yeah. We get the reports after, the night after. Oh man, I just got weak, man. Like, bro, you've been playing with weakness for 3 weeks. People don't just wake up and just sin immediately. It is a deterioration.
And it's going through their mind the whole day.
The weeks, couple days, before it happens, at least 3 days, you're dancing with the sin.
Yeah,
like you're sitting back here, you're slow dancing with the sin. You're entertaining it. That's what I'm saying. Some George Michael, you're dancing with the sin.
Making provisions.
Yeah, all of a sudden, but you don't say anything then. You say it afterwards. Because you don't want to look weak. You're lying. You're lying to yourself. You're lying to the Most High. And that was the point. This is the point. That lying spirit is a spirit that has to be attacked in yourself also. We say things and we don't mean it. We say things and don't act behind it. We make excuses and we lie. Isaiah 30, verse 8 through 12. That was a jam. That was a great song. It really was. Yeah, you found it, right? You found it, right? Okay, then. There we go.
Isaiah chapter 30, verse 8.
You gotta listen to the ride home.
I know, it's in everybody's head now.
Top of the playlist.
That's hilarious, huh? Read it out, Matthew.
God. Now go, write it before them in the table, and note it in the book.
He said, listen, man, write this on paper. You got to sit back here. Well, I'm not going to say that. Write it on paper. Let everybody know this is something that's tried and true about Israelites. Read on. Our people.
That it may be for the time to come forever and ever.
Let everybody know this is Israel's MO. Read on.
That this is a rebellious people.
Israel is rebellious, but how are we rebellious? How is our rebellion fed? Read on.
Lying children.
We're liars, we lie. We're lying children. We lie to other people. We lie to ourselves more than important than anything. We lie. We tell ourselves we're on point. We're doing everything we can and we don't. We tell ourselves we're trying to change. We tell ourselves that we're trying to be better people. But our words always don't what? Match the actions. That's the lie. And the lie is we constantly walk around here for 5, 10, 15 years making excuses for why we haven't changed. We all have our violins to explain how we were done wrong, what happened to us, how I was wronged. The excuses is the victimhood that we like to tap into. Victimhood, we say things we don't live by. We are liars. We are rebellious people. These are the reasons that we don't grow. What you gonna say, Al?
It's like, it just reminds me of a bullet. You know, it shoots and it goes fast and then it just drops.
God, exactly. No standing power, no lasting power. God, read on.
Con, lying children that will not hear the law of the Lord.
Con, people don't want to hear change. We don't accept that our life is about constantly being redirected. Our life should be constantly about embracing. Listen, the reason that we're around all these different people, the reason a church or a camp is so important is there's a bunch of people around you that can operate at a stronger pace than you. They're stronger in mindset in a lot of things. Instead of being around an entire body of people and seeing the weakness in somebody, there's a lot of people that they would rather see the weakness in somebody so that they don't have to what? Change. They don't have to change. If I'm sitting back here seeing what everybody else isn't doing, that makes me comfortable in me not doing what I'm supposed to do. What we're supposed to be doing is wiring our mind to pull from strength around the people around us. Let me feed off of this person's talent. Let me feed off of this person's raw, sheer ability. Let me try to make that mine. That's how you stay strong. That's how you improve. But we want to lie. We want to play the victim. And we don't want to be real about our situation. Read on.
Con, you want verse 10?
Yes, I do. I want to read to verse 12.
Con, Isaiah chapter 30 verse 10. Which say to the seers, see not.
A seer was an old name for a prophet. So we were saying to the teachers, don't prophesy to me. Don't prophesy the truth to me. Don't be direct to me. Because we don't want to hear the truth. A lot of people don't want to hear right and wrong and accountability and having to face the music. We want to be lied to. Read on.
Says, and to the prophet prophesy not unto us right things.
He says, don't tell me what I got to do to change. Don't give me all these hard assignments. Because most of the time, change is forcing you to do something that you just don't want to do. It's hard. It's a legitimate uphill climb. It's a long, long climb. And most of the time, if it's worth it, you're not going to see any significant change anytime soon. You're going to have to just hunker down and just take it one day at a time. That's how you know it's a good project for you. Read on.
Speak unto us smooth things.
It's better that you just lie to me and tell me that I'm doing good. This is why the churches that teach prosperity teaching make so much money. Your Joel Osteens and all your preachers, they've been taught from years that if you teach prosperity teaching, the people will love you. If I tell you that Jesus wants you to be a millionaire, Jesus wants you to have all the things you need, the Most High wants you to have everything you want, listen, people want to hear that. People don't want to hear the reason you're not where you're at is because you have a laundry list of problems. You're slothful, you're proud, you don't want to follow nobody, you don't trust anybody, you see the worst in people. Start working on those things. Who wants to hear that every damn day long?
Right.
Well, the ones here say they do. And that's why we do it. Because we say we want Christ. That's why they said Christ was an austere man. Because he was direct and he told people the truth. But by nature, we want to be lied to. We want to be told that where you're at in your life, you're just fine. But when you tell a person that, you're doing them the greatest disservice in the world. That's hatred. When you tell a person that they're good as they are, you hate them really. You secretly hate them. If you love your brother, you'll tell him the truth. If you love your wife, you'll tell them the truth. If she loves you, she'll tell you the truth.
But the righteous might be.
It's a kindness. If you learn to see it as a kindness. But let's keep going.
Speak unto us smooth things, prophesy deceit.
We would rather be lied to than be told the truth. Then down the line we'll get angry at the pastor for lying at us. This is what you wanted. Read on.
Verse 11. Get ye out of the way, turn aside out of the path. Cause the Holy One of Israel to cease from before us.
Our people by nature don't want to deal with accountability. So get the Most High out of the way. The Most High is all about accountability. Facing and owning up to what your issues are. But our people by nature is get the Most High out the way. I want to live my life. I want to live in my beautiful, dark, twisted fantasy. That's the truth. I want to live in my little zone. And I want to tell myself that I'm doing fine. Read on.
Come. Wherefore, thus saith the Holy One of Israel, because ye despise this word.
And the reality is our people despise the word. Because the word always makes us uncomfortable. Growth makes you uncomfortable. And that's what we despise. We despise being uncomfortable. We despise being uncomfortable for an undisclosed period of time. It's okay for being uncomfortable 1 to 2 days. Well, I got to sit back here and the thought that I'm going to be studying every day. I'm going to be in the book all damn day long. Or that whatever job I'm doing for the camp is forever. That idea is like, wow, this grind is forever. Yeah. This brotherhood dedication thing is forever. Forever. One more time for understanding. Forever.
Everybody gets the same penny.
Exactly. And then you'll get the penny. The guy that comes in 5 minutes till, he don't get the same damn thing you got. Anyway, that's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
At least you got the penny.
At least you got the penny.
That's what we look for.
Shiny.
The point is shiny penny too. Shiny ass penny. What's the whole point? The point is the reality of what service means. A lot of people don't want to accept what service is. So we'd rather pick. It goes back to that Matrix crap. All right, give me the red pill out. Versus dealing with the reality of what freedom really means. Because the scripture always talking about being free in Christ. But free in Christ, they was eating that damn amino acids slop bucket out in Zion. Remember that? That wasn't real cool.
Yeah, but it's real.
But it's real. It's real as hell.
I mean, it's real. Not just in that movie. It's real here.
That's the point.
Yeah.
That's the point. Can you accept what's real? Or if this guy was like, listen, I know this steak is fake. I know there's a computer program telling me that this steak is delicious. It's moist and it's really tasty. He was like, ignorance is bliss. He like, when the heart person was playing. The whole point was, we would rather be in that lie, know it's a lie, than deal in the realities of change. Deals in the realities of what it takes to serve the Most High. This deals with the core of us. This is why we have the issues with growth. Because I'd rather be lied to than face the facts.
I gotta pull this really quick.
I will. As soon as you face the facts, as soon as you stop lying, then you can start the process of growth. You can't grow until you stop being a hypocrite, stop making excuses, and stop lying. Once you can eliminate those three things, now we're on the road to recovery. And this is why I didn't want to go into too much of the how to fix it. We got to focus on why the hell we're here in the first place. And can we sit back and listen to this and say, am I being a little hypocritical? Have I been an excuse maker? Have I been a liar? Have I been all three? Have I been 2 out of 3? Which ones do fit me? What was you gonna say?
No, that steak bar kind of got me. I wanted to go to Proverbs 15 and verse 14. I'm not gonna go through the whole thing. 10 through 14 is awesome. If you get a chance, read it. But it talks about correction and how it's grievous unto him that forsaketh the way. But the part that I wanted to focus on was verse 14. Give me that real quick.
What chapter was that?
Proverbs
chapter 15 and verse 14.
15 and 14.
Proverbs chapter 15, verse 14. The heart of him that hath understanding seeketh knowledge.
The heart of him that hath understanding seeketh knowledge through correction, through learning, through understanding.
Awesome.
But read on.
That's phenomenal.
But the mouth of fools.
The mouth of fools.
Well, hold on. Before you go any further, your mouth is a direct representation of what?
Is that?
Your mind.
Yeah.
So when you hear about the mouth of somebody, that mouth is that direct link to how a person thinks and operates. That's all I want to say.
No, you're right. How you operate, how you think, your desires, what you're yearning for, like the steak, the virtual steak that he knows is not real.
Virtual
but you
steak.
know what? It looks good.
You in a fan?
My mind tells me
he was at Ruth Chris. I'm being stupid. He was at Miss Ruth Chris. There was a better restaurant than that. I'm just being. He was at San Francisco Steakhouse.
Hey, in his mind, he's at Chamagacha. He's in San Antonio,
Okay.
Chamagacha. That's like $50 steakhouse.
Yeah.
In Chamagacha, you get you get lamb, unlimited lamb,
Yes.
unlimited filet mignon.
Really yummy.
It's a great time. Anyway, point is,
You will have meat sweats.
you're gonna have meat sweats like a mug.
There will be meat
There
sweats.
ain't no salad getting eaten now. Point of the matter is,
Meat and bread, bro. Meat and bread. Anyway, let's keep going.
So read on again.
Take it.
Mouth of fools, what?
Slakia. For the heart of him that hath understanding seeketh knowledge.
Con, and that's through correction. That's through study. But what did the mouth of fools do?
But the mouth of fools feedeth on foolishness.
The mouth of fools feeds on foolishness. We don't want to hear what's right. We don't want to hear what was beneficial for our spirit. We want to be lied to. We get strong.
Get fed up of that.
The scripture says our feet run to evil.
God,
We run to evil. We swift to evil because it. I gotta hold on.
I got it. I actually asked him.
No. I don't want that. But
okay.
no, it's good. But I'm just saying that our people feed on foolishness. Why do you think World Star makes so much damn money?
Like that.
We love like bum fights and
Like
dudes in
the
the hood
Wings
doing
stuff.
stupid stuff. The whole World Star. Those things people are into. But sitting back here and challenging your mind and challenging your spirit and wanting to push yourself to change, we don't want no part of that smoke, guy. We don't want to change. This is why you can sit back and see folly online, folly on TikTok, folly on YouTube. They're getting bazillion views, We're sitting back here with the building blocks of change and serving the Most High. We're going to barely knock out 60 tonight. It's the truth, and that's okay. Nobody's sweating it. But you know what the truth is? It just shows about how people think and how people are, and what motivates the majority of the people here, and why we should sit back here and get the most out of our experience serving the Most High. Listen, if you're here, you're telling the Most High that you are sincere about changing. So let's sit back here and be sincere about changing and get to the meat and potatoes of what it takes to get closer to Him. Let's not waste our time, because the foolish feed on foolishness. It says, it said it in Isaiah 30. It said we despise His word. Read on.
God, because you despise His word and trust in oppression.
Well, listen, we trust in oppression. What does that mean? We trust in being a sheep. It's okay that we don't got to think. We don't want to think. So because we don't want to think, We don't want to study and read books. We're okay with somebody manipulating us and taking advantage of us. We're okay with staying in the lane in a position of a sheep. But then we'll sit back and be mad that we're exploited. We're okay with being exploited. We're okay with being lied to. Because it's easier to be lied to and exploited than to use your brain and think and study. And learn critical thinking skills. And learn to challenge your own mind and read and study and analyze and think. It's harder to do that. It's easier just to follow and be a sheep and then get mad that you were a sheep and you didn't think.
I didn't get the order out, but
Yeah.
I don't like it when you order me around.
Exactly. Thank you. Exactly. That was a perfect way to say it. That was a perfect way to say it.
Say that again.
Like, I need an order. I didn't get the order out, but you know what? I don't like it when you give me an order.
Because that happens a lot of times.
Okay.
Listen, if you don't give a person the exact verbatim order, then they're not gonna put two and two together. But then when you sit back here, you get very direct, and you have to baby in with the counsel. I don't like all these orders.
Stop micromanaging.
You're micromanaging me. Well, then walk and chew gum at the same damn time, and maybe I don't gotta micromanage you. Can you walk and chew gum, please?
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's how we are.
But this is Israel. This is Israel at the core. Listen, we trust in oppression because trusting in oppression means I don't gotta think. I don't gotta be responsible. I don't gotta be accountable for nothing. I can just operate on autopilot. Everything's gonna be okay. Exactly.
Homeborn slave.
And I can blend in with everybody else.
2:14.
There it is.
God, we're a homeborn slave.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna get my money, my food. I don't know where to go. Anyway, let's keep going. Let me stop.
Isaiah
Let me
chapter
stop
30,
talking that massive Boston tough out
the
of
middle of 12. And trust in oppression and perverseness and stay thereon.
Because we'd rather sit back here and operate in ignorance and not be accountable. Listen, the reason that we teach like this is so that you can learn how to study and teach like this. Listen, I'm going to do this every damn day until I'm gone. But the goal is to sit back here and teach people that's gonna do the same thing I'm doing in life. Teach people who are gonna teach others. Take on this responsibility and teach others too. What's that verse at? Timothy? I'm not gonna go there, it's okay. But the purpose of it is to teach men and sisters or teach brothers so they can get this word and teach other brothers. But you can't teach unless you're living it. Because that's what the hypocrite is. They say the words, they don't live the words. The Spirit don't defend you and back you when you teach and lead unless you're living what you're saying. So, after Isaiah, what you going to say?
No, I was going to say that verse is 2 Timothy 2:2.
Yes, it is. Exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. Let's go to Ecclesiasticus chapter 20, verse 24 through 26.
Ecclesiasticus what?
Ecclesiasticus 20, verse 24 through 26.
Okay. Ecclesiasticus 20 verse 24.
Okay, read that.
A lie is a foul blot in a man.
And we know we're not supposed to actually physically lie to people. And because when we're lying to people or lying on people, we're putting people in a position to defame them, to shame them. So if it ends up coming out that we're lying on a person's name, being a false witness, that's a foul blot to a man. But what's also a foul blot to a man is that they lie to themselves and they don't change. And we operate this living life, continuing lying to ourselves around people that are about knowledge, wisdom, understanding, and we don't grow. It's a blot in us to be in this truth for so long and not change. Like, what are we doing here? We're supposed to sit back and take this environment and make it a springboard to change and develop what's inside of us, not just stay stagnant. So it's so important to identify these things that keep us from growth so we can kind of get away from these pitfalls. The scripture says a wise man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself. What we're doing right now is painting out the evil. We're showing the evil so you can sit back and hide yourself from these tendencies that's in all of us. So we can keep moving forward. We can keep growing. We can keep ascending. Anyway, read that. Continue.
A lie is a foul blot in a man, yet it is continually in the mouth of the untaught.
It's a lie is continually in the mouth of the untaught. Because the person that doesn't study is a person that's not accountable. The person that's not accountable is always lying to himself. Is always making excuses to himself. Is always justifying his weak behavior. Is always making excuses for his weak behavior. Because that liar is that person who's a liar and the person who's untaught and doesn't study and doesn't commit himself to studying, they kind of go hand in hand. You're not going to sit back here and gain strength if you're untaught. What do I mean by untaught? You can be in class every damn day and still be untaught. Why do I say that? Does anybody know? I know when I was young in the truth, this is what happened. I'll let you go 1 second. When I was young in the truth, I was like 15. And I would go to class, and there was like a spiritual high you got after class. You felt invincible. I don't know if y'all have experienced that, but I used to. I'd be floating on cloud 9. I'd be like, whoosh. When you first come out, you're feeling all potent and stuff. But then you know what the crazy thing is? A lot of our people live off that high. And we don't sit back here and go home and reread, restudy. Make those words and those scriptures yours and bring it to execution. What we do? We depend on what another person is saying. It's one thing to feed off a person's strength. It's another to live off their strength. You understand what I'm saying? A lot of us live off the person's next class. And the person's next class after that. And that is a perfect example of a babe. A babe lives off of all the breast milk of the mama. But it gets to a point where there has to be a weaning off process. And that weaning off process is how we get to the point where we can self-sustain. You take words, you take counsels, you sit back and read, and you can pull strength from what you're reading. If that's not what you're able to do, we have a lot of work to do. Can you pull strength from your reading? Can you get potency from what you just studied? Not just understanding, not just academic understanding. Can you take these words and use these words to actually help change and re-steer the course and direction that you're going? That's what every one of y'all is supposed to be working on. We're going to be here. We're going to be here. But are you learning the lessons now so when we're not here, you can sit back and do what we're doing? Because when you get here, you have to find it all from here, from within. You got to find it you got to dig deep. You got to dig deep and find that reason to get up every morning and keep fighting.
And again, it ain't going to work for you if you're not in the Word, working that Word.
And that's the point.
For it to be on you.
You have to constantly work it. You have to constantly use these words to start changing your mindset, to rev up that spiritual engine, so to speak, to get you motivated to fight. How do you know you need the Bible? Is when you don't physically want to do something. When you physically don't want to fight something. Are you skillful enough to go in this book and manufacture a reason to counteract what's inside of you? If you're not able to do that, there's a lot more reading and a lot more counseling and a lot more communication that you have to tap into. Because that's what we all should be shooting for. You got your hand up?
Yeah, it's on your point, and it's the point of this verse is really hidden in the definition of 1828, Romans 10:2. This is something that caught my point because you're looking at an aspect of a person. Read that for me.
Romans 10:2. Who got it?
Romans 10:2.
Romans chapter 10 and verse 2. For I bear them record that they have a zeal of the Most High.
So there's a zeal, but if you look at the definition of zeal, there's two different aspects of what zeal is. If you go to the 1828, the first aspect is like a passionate pursuit of anything, an eagerness or a desire to accomplish it. So you can have the zeal for the Most High to accomplish His love, His mercy, His fruits of the Spirit, so to speak, or you can have a zeal for liberty as an eagerness to subvert with little care. So what aspect of this zeal for the Most High do you have? Because the next line he says what?
But not according to knowledge.
So is your passion, your eagerness according to pursuing His knowledge and executing and performing it, or subverting it, making little care of it?
Because subverting it is just doing it your way. I've seen a lot of people commit or give energy and effort with their way. And it goes back to that same hypocrite that commits or gives effort. What did that verse say? It said the hypocrite shall be offended thereof. They're offended because they'll put energy and effort into things and not get anything back from it, not get the desired response back, because they ask or they give amiss. It goes back into James 4 where it says a person asks, he fights, he kills, and he still doesn't get what he wants because he's in the wrong spirit in his pursuit of what he's trying to accomplish. Anyway, time is flying, and I just want to kind of get a little bit more before we finish out. Are we still in Ecclesiastes 20? We finish that up? Verse, no, I want 25 and 26 also. In Ecclesiastes 20, verse 25 and 26.
Ecclesiastes chapter 20, verse 25. The thief is better than the man that is accustomed to lie.
You don't want to you don't want to be accustomed to lying. Obviously to other people, but I've seen people in the truth that I've known. Everything that they're just accustomed to talking slant ways and not being direct and giving half truths. A half truth is still a lie. Omitting information, being vague. You don't want to sit. I won't say a thief is better than a person who's always lying, who has these slanted versions of truth, who's not honest. You don't want to be that guy, but you don't want to be that guy to yourself. You don't want to lie to yourself. Because I'm telling you, you're gonna be wasting your time in this arena if you're accustomed to not being honest about your situation. So once again, we have to fight to go against our nature, because our nation as a whole has a nature to lie and not be completely honest in our own personal evaluations of ourselves. If you want to grow, you have to have people around you, brothers around you, sisters around you, who can give you a proper evaluation of where your spirit stands, where you are between you and the Most High. If you don't have that, man, there's a problem. Let's continue.
But they both shall have destruction to heritage.
Read on.
Verse 26.
What it says is they shall both have destruction to their families out, their seeds out. It's because if your children see you always lying, guess what they're going to see? Maybe I should start lying. You start teaching your whole family how not to be direct, not to be honest with themselves. You're doing your children a great disservice, because you walk around here lying, operating in a fantasy world. Your children are going to learn that same damn Candyland fantasy world too. Teach your children to operate in real circumstances, to be honest with themselves. And you're doing them a better service than what you're doing. Anyway, continue.
Verse 26. The disposition of a liar is dishonorable.
The disposition of a liar is dishonorable. How a liar operates. How a liar manufactures their reasons and justifications. Their disposition, how they carry themselves out, is everything about a liar is dishonorable. Like, I'm not trying to just bang on liars all damn day long, but Israel is a bunch of liars. It's just the truth. And if we're going to ever learn to grow, we have to stop lying first. Learn how to stop lying, and then come back around here and you can start working on what's inside of you. Because a lot of us start the process of trying to grow and change and fix things in ourselves, but we still got these elements in us. We'll try to change and grow, but there's hypocrisy in us. We'll start the process of trying to push and fix what's inside of us, but we make excuses. We'll try to sit back here and try to work on ourselves, but we're liars inside. Let's work on the lying spirit that we always carry. Then we can actually see more substantial growth in our lives if we fix these things first. Does that make sense? Okay. Let that go. No, read on. Finish that dishonor. And this is the disposition of a liar is dishonorable. Read on.
And his shame is ever with him.
So listen, let that go and go to Psalms 31 and 6.
You ready?
I am ready.
God. Psalms chapter 31 and verse 6 reads, I have hated them that regarded lying vanity.
This is David talking. He says, I have hated them that regard, meaning give attention, feed lying vanities, lying methods, unproven methods, methods that we create and make up. Half the time we get caught and we never grow, or we have problems growing, because we create our own methodology on how to solve and fix our problems and wonder why they don't work out. Listen, we're here. You have brothers, you have counselors, you have teachers here, or near the camps that where the brothers are listening. Follow your teachers. Instead of wasting time using your unproven methods to fix issues in your mind, your outlook, how to deal with pressure, how to deal with negativity, how to deal with lust. Counsel with the people that can help you through your issues. He says, listen, the Most High, David, he's still saying the same thing. He hates those lying vanities, those methods and those ways that are unproven, that lead you nowhere. It's vain because nothing comes of it. Our methods that are unproven are vain because we'll try them and we'll do them, and we're just wasting time. Stop wasting time. Let that verse go. Go to 1 John 4 and 1.
First John chapter 4, verse 1 reads. Let me know when you're ready.
Yeah, 1 second. I am ready. Is everybody ready? Wait for them. Listen, wait for me, which is good, and then kind of get a glance of everybody. And once I say yeah, glance over everybody, and then you make the go. Okay, you're good. Read that.
First John chapter 4 and verse 1 reads, Beloved, believe not every spirit.
Listen, and this is a solution even to that lying spirit. Just because your mind tells it to you. Matter of fact, hold that. Somebody is going to be Jeremiah 17?
9.
No, 17 9, right?
Yeah.
Yep, Jeremiah 17 9. So read that verse, Mark Waller.
First John chapter 4 and verse 1 from the top reads, Beloved, believe not every spirit.
Listen, the Most High is saying, don't believe every spirit. Don't believe every thought that pops in your head. Don't believe every impulse that pops in your head or every feeling that hits you. Okay? Why? What does Jeremiah 17 and 9 say?
Jeremiah chapter 17 verse 9. The heart is deceitful above all things.
Because your mind is always lying. Your mind is always telling you you're doing okay. You're doing enough. It's okay to take a break. It's okay to ease up. It's okay you're justified in thinking these thoughts. You're justified in being angry. You're justified in being upset. Your mind is always lying. And can we get to the point where we accept that our mind is deceitful above all things? Read on.
And desperately wicked.
Because this connects exactly with Isaiah. Isaiah said we're lying children. Jeremiah is like, your mind is deceitful. It's the most deceitful thing in the world. How you process things. How you look at. This is why you can't trust how you look at things. When it comes to issues of your vulnerabilities. Arenas of your weakness, you can't trust it. How your mind processes and justifies why you do weak things and why you act weak, you can't trust that train of thinking. The heart is deceitful above all things, and read on.
Who can know it?
No, and what? And what wicked?
Desperate.
Desperately wicked. The mind is desperate to get what it wants. The flesh is desperate to feed the flesh. What was that verse you said? It was Proverbs where it said that the fool loves the fool. It pursues the foolish. What did it say again?
It was Proverbs
14 and 15, right?
15 and 14.
It said the mouth of fools feed on foolishness. That flesh feeds on that negative. So because it feeds on negative, your mind's going to always say to lean to that side. And this is why you go to 1 John 4 and 1. It says, trust not every spirit. Don't trust those thoughts. And this is why you have to depend on counsel, teaching, studying, to learn how not to listen to that flesh that's always pulling on you. Read on in 1 John.
Beloved, believe not every spirit.
I'm good in Jeremiah, sir.
But try the spirits, whether they are of the Most High.
Listen, you got to try your thoughts to determine if your thoughts are spiritual or not. That's how you start getting leverage over that liar in you. Because we all have a liar in us. We all have a liar in us. We all have a hypocrite in us that talks a big game but don't finish out. We all have that excuse making aspect in us that keeps us from growth. And can we fight every day to keep all those three elements in check? So we even have an opportunity to grow. Okay? Let that go. I'm good with that. Also on 2 Corinthians 10 verse 3 through 5. Because it also gives you another way of looking at how to deal with that party that wants to always lie. He's going to give another example of another word to express that person as in that dreamland. That person that wants to operate in an oblivious position.
2 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 5.
10 and 3. You said 10 and 3, right?
Yes, 2 Corinthians 10 verse 3 through 5.
3 through 5, yeah.
2 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 3 reads, for though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh.
He says we might physically be in the flesh, but we're not supposed to be going back and forth in war and combat. Because in war, you give a little turf, you lose turf, you gain turf, you lose turf, you gain turf. He's like, we shouldn't be sitting back here at war with the flesh. But that's how most of us are. You win some, you lose some. You gave in a little bit today, you gave in last month, you're strong a couple weeks and you got weak again. He's like, that's not how this dynamic should go. We're not supposed to be warring or struggling in the flesh. Read on.
For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal.
What we're supposed to use to overcome this flesh. You can't defeat flesh with flesh. You can't overcome flesh with flesh. That doesn't fix the spiritual problem. A lot of times, if we're burning in the flesh, we think feeding the flesh is going to solve that problem. What we don't understand is if we're burning in the flesh and we feed the flesh, all the flesh is going to want is what? More. And all you're training the flesh is whenever you have an impulse, feed it. Whenever you have an impulse, feed it. It's not even in alcoholism. Whenever you're stressed, the answer can't be the bottle. Because if you do, all you're telling yourself is whenever you feel that level of stress and anxiety, go to the bottom. Is that?
Yeah, you keep feeding, you become insatiable, and then if you try to beat it with willpower, then you become desperate.
Yeah, then you're gonna make a run. You're gonna make a run. You're gonna find some alcohol. You're gonna find some strains. You're gonna get what the hell you're gonna get. You're gonna run them streets. You're gonna be like 4 in the morning. Now, you know you ain't up to no good out. You're on the streets at 4 out. Like, you're the only car on the highway, bro. What are you doing, bro? You like this. You like this, bro. You like, pew. The windows is down, bro. You night riding, not. What are you doing? I gotta get what I gotta get now. Listen, and that's the craziness, but it's the truth. So he's like, you can't fight the flesh with the flesh. You gotta fight the flesh with the spirit. But keep going.
But mighty through the Most High to the pulling down of strongholds.
Listen, what we have to do. This chapter or this verse is talking about how to transition from being a talker and a hearer to a doer. Because in order to sit back and change, you only change from destroying the stronghold. Destroying something, destroying the why, I don't change. What is it about that vice I tap into that I have to have it? What is it about that flesh that I have to have that I'm just upset if I don't have it? If you don't break that strong, the why, you're never going to be able to move forward and grow. But you can't even begin to start zeroing in on what the stronghold is if you don't get past the other strongholds in yourself. The lies, the hypocrisy, the excuse making. You got to knock that down so you can zero in to the real problem. Half the time we're fighting these issues, we're fighting other issues, and we haven't even gotten to the real problem yet. This is why the lying is such a problem. Overcome the lying, overcome the excuse making, so we can now we see this huge obstacle in our way, but now I'm at least at the damn obstacle, and I can start chipping away at that obstacle. Okay? So let's keep going.
Verse 5. Casting down imagination.
Casting down, because what the strongholds is all about the imagination we build in our mind. It's these fantasies we have in our mind of how things should be in comparison to what they really are. That's what we're breaking down, is the imaginations. It's the feelings. It's the way we think life should be, the way we think our life should be, how we think our life is unfair because of what we're going through. Breaking down and casting down those imaginations is what we have to focus on if we're going to get to the real blessing. Continue.
And every high thing that exalteth itself against the knowledge of the Most High.
These high things is just dealing with our priorities. What do we put ahead of the Most High? What do we value higher than the Most High? Is it our opinion? Is it our flesh? Is it our own personal time? What do we value that replaces the Heavenly Father? That's what we have to, that's the objective of breaking down. Read on.
And bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Yahushua.
That's how you grow. Getting to the point where you can control all of your thoughts. You can't necessarily control the thought that pops in your head, but what you can control is what you entertain. The thoughts that pop in your head, if you entertain them or not. And that's how you put every thought into subjection or the obedience of Christ. When the thought pops in, can I acknowledge it and then shut it down? Or does it hit me and I keep feeding it, and I keep feeding it, and I keep entertaining it, and I keep playing with it? That's what, if you've really grown and really achieving something, the thoughts don't sway you anymore. Because for a lot of us, if there's a strong impulse to do something, then we're just going to give in and do it.
You got to learn how to destroy it. You got to destroy
that's the
that
point.
shit.
But you can't destroy that stronghold, the real problem, if I keep lying.
Mm-hmm.
If I keep operating in this fantasy land. If I keep operating, I just keep talking about what I'm gonna do, but never go through the work of actually getting it done. Then once you can get that, then you can start attacking the real issues, the real strongholds in yourself. Then you can start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Then you can start finding some happiness once you've crossed over, and you can now control these issues that you once didn't have control over. Okay.
6?
No, not that. So once we get past the lies, the hypocrisy, and the excuse making, then there's a couple more I don't think we'll have time to go through. But I want to go to Proverbs chapter 24. What happened? You took it off?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, go to Proverbs 24, chapter 30 through 34.
Proverbs chapter 24, verse 30.
In the process of us, once you get to the meat and potatoes of the issues and the problems, then it's just a matter at that point of identifying why I still can't overcome the battle that's in front of me. Okay? So once you've eliminated yourself and all your reasons and all your justifications and all the little things you put up and all the barriers you put up, now we can get to the real person. Why can't I grow? Why can't I achieve? Why can't I get to the next level and grow my spirit? And you're going to come to the conclusion, once you get past the excuses, this is one reason why we can't grow. Proverbs 24, verse 30 through 34.
Proverbs chapter 24, verse 30. I went by the field of the slothful.
We're slothful. We're lazy. Once you get past the excuses and all the damn fantasies and the imaginations and all the circular reasons of why I can't do this, why this isn't working out for me, how come the Most High don't bless me, how come the Most High don't love me, how come I don't get blessed in my life. After we get through all the whys and the self-pity, this is the reason. We're slothful. Why there's hypocrisy in us. Why I can talk it but not live it. Why I can talk it but there's no power behind it. There's no performance. Why can I talk it but there's no performance behind it? The reason you can talk with no performance is because of this. Read verse 30 again.
Proverbs chapter 24, verse 30. I went by the field of the slothful, and by the vineyard of the man void of understanding.
Okay, because listen, what is understanding? So he went by the field of the slothful and the vineyard of a person, of a man, void of understanding. What is understanding? Okay, we got knowledge. Knowledge is the how. No, knowledge is the information, not the how. Knowledge is the information, right? Wisdom is the how to apply the knowledge, right? What's the understanding?
Why?
Yeah.
It's
Actually applying.
What's that?
Actually applying.
It's the application because you finished it. You get the understanding after you do it. A lot of times, you get the information. Wisdom is the how to apply and work the knowledge. The understanding is the end process. But he says, he went to the field of the slothful and by the vineyard of a man void of understanding. So he goes to the vineyard of a person who doesn't finish things. The vineyard of a person that doesn't have understanding is because he didn't finish. He didn't know how to use the wisdom or use the knowledge to benefit him. What is wisdom? What's the definition of wisdom? The correct application of knowledge. So if you don't have understanding, it's because you don't know how to apply wisdom. So you might have all the knowledge in the world, but you don't know how to apply it and make it benefit for you. So for you to see the end result of it. So the slothful man doesn't know how to finish. The slothful man has 5 notebooks of Bible verses. 180 college rule, 180 page college rule. If 5 notebooks of damn Bible verses and don't know how to make it pop. Don't know how to change. That's the slothful man. The person that can't bring the power and execution to the word is because they're slothful. That makes sense? Read on.
Verse 31. And lo, it was all grown over with thorns.
Because if a person understood how to properly apply the wisdom, they wouldn't have the thorns there. The thorns are just talking about having the ability to pay attention to detail. Because there's the reason that a person ain't grown is because there's aspects of what they're doing. There's holes and there's fallibility in your concepts, in your application. There's a saying: the devil is in the what?
Details.
What does that mean? That means the devil's going to sit back and expose you for all the details that you don't hold on to, that you ain't figured out. If we don't pay attention to the whys. Have y'all ever been in school and did science experiments? And you had control groups and you have variable groups. I'm not trying to get deep, and I'm not trying to get all sciencey and schooly and all that stuff, but when you're trying to sit back and figure out why what you're doing isn't working, you have to operate with these variable groups and these control groups. When I'm thinking this way, when I'm in this mindset, what happens to me? When my mind starts to veer off this way, how does my works end up turning out? Okay, when I studied an hour yesterday, how did my day go? Okay, when I forgot to study for 2 days, where was my mind at? When I was sitting back here entertaining this lust today, what happened the next day? When I'm sitting back here playing with these thoughts today, what was the result of me playing with these negative thoughts yesterday? What was the result of it happening to me today? This back and forth and setting up these variables and control groups is how you can start evaluating why you are the way you are and why your actions and conduct end up turning into bad scenarios or good scenarios. I tell brothers all the time, you have to sit back and notate what you do right to get blessed, as well as learning how to notate what you do wrong to not get blessed. And then start learning day to day how to work on these things in yourself so you can learn how to consistently perform and operate the right way. Does that make sense? But this is part of, he says, but the slothful person is operating, there's just no rhyme or reason. Today I feel this way, tomorrow the wind's going to take me another direction. And it's all, you can see it by the lack of attention to detail in that slothful man's field. Listen, for any of y'all who had a front yard or yard, if you don't sit back and stay on top of weeds, they will take control of your entire yard. So it's about every day going out in that yard and we pull out these weeds. Every day, is my job every day going to pull out weeds or not? Either you're going to do it every day, or it's going to be you versus the weeds. Who's going to win? This is no different in your spirit. Every day, am I going to pick those spiritual weeds out of my yard or not? Or am I going to allow these negative thoughts to keep festering? Those weeds is like negative thoughts, negative habits. This is to the extent of what it takes to manage your spirit, to manage your soul. He's like the slothful person, there's just weeds everywhere. All kind of different species. You got you know it's bad when you got the weed that looks like the damn flower. The yellow flower, like you ain't been keeping shit together. And then you got the big stink weed, where the weeds like this thick and it got like a milky substance that comes off. Like, what have you been doing your whole time? Let's grow that big. They're like this tall. It looks like a sunflower, but it's a weed. Like, what are you doing?
That's ghetto slothful.
That's ghetto slothful. And then listen, the weeds are growing from the cement. That's really bad too. You got a weed like coming off of the cement, is like this, and they're all prickly. Like, what have you been doing for the last 6 months, B? Because that's like a 6-month problem. But this is how we operate in our spirit. We just let negatives fester and flow around, sprout. They get all stinky and they start absorbing all the nutrients of the grass around it. It just takes complete control of the entire yard. It just shows how we diminish from the inside. And he's explaining a slothful person's field and comparing it to a slothful person's spirit. And it tells you if we're going to sit back and grow, we have to fight to stay on top of every little thing that pops up in our sphere. And it connects with 2 Corinthians 8, where it says being forward a year ago. I see this Edomite family next to me, man. This guy and his wife on every Saturday, bro, was on their hands and knees picking out weeds out. Because they had this grass called Bermuda. Right. And Bermuda is a more feminine grass than St. Augustine. So if you have Bermuda, bro, you are going to have to like be super dead. You got to be like a damn weed Nazi to stay on top of that. You got to be a weed Nazi because you got to be out there every damn week because those weeds they'll suffocate the thinner Bermuda grass. They were out there going at it every damn day. I was like, I respect the cuss out of y'all. And when I moved over, he said, listen, man, you getting Bermuda? Or you getting that stinky weed St. Augustine? I was like, dude, this dude hit me up first day I met him. I was like, this guy is about his damn yard. I was like, it's Bermuda. He's like, cool, man. Just making sure. I don't want to mess with my grass. Didn't mess my grass up. I'm in the divider line if you got that St. Augustine crap. I was like, this dude was really bad.
Wow.
That was like the first day I met him. And that's how he rolled. But the problem is, well, you know what? I get him. Because that St. Augustine will grow onto his side and take over his Bermuda grass. He wasn't lying. It would take all the moisture, because St. Augustine takes more moisture than the Bermuda. To take all his water, dry out his property line. I would have to put the little metal rod or metal like spacing to split it up. And even then, they kind of grows over it and under it to take over the grass on the sides. He was right. And I understood, but you know what? St. Augustine is easier. You don't gotta, the weeds don't grow as easy. Don't grow as easy. The Bermuda, that stuff just pops up out there. And then they're out there just every day. They're dedicated. Well, he did it on Saturdays. His wife was doing it every day. I was like, this is some real. Their backyard was immaculate. But I was like, well, you know what? I saw it and I was like, you know, this is what the hell that class about slothful was about. It's either you're gonna be like that about your spirit and have control over your spirit, or you're gonna sit back here and roll like most black folks do that rent houses. And they don't care about the front yard, backyard at all. You can tell an owner from a renter. You can tell. If you're renting it, that yard is getting no TLC. You're going to barely cut it. You're going to get a couple drops of water, a couple sprinkles of water, and that's it. You ain't going to change the AC, the filter. You're not changing no damn filters. You're going to just barely go through the damn motions. If it's yours, if you're halfway responsible, you'll put more energy into it. But it's the same thing with your spirit. Are you going to fight every day to stay on top of all these issues that end up ruining you and weakening you over time? Ecclesiastes 32 says, know what's evil for thy spirit and give not unto it. That's why I keep talking about 37?
37:27.
37:27. Yeah, it still goes to the point about that science experiment. You have to sit back here and test over your lifetime what works for you, what doesn't work for you. How much time you got to commit to studying and reading? What's your max? What's your minimum? What are the things you got to go? What routine works? And can you stick and replicate the same routine? Know what works, know what doesn't work. But this person that's slothful, they just operate every day and wonder why good things don't happen to them. I'm a good person. I come to class. I do nice things. I don't know why I don't get blessed. Because you don't sit back here and operate with a system and a format and a routine. That means something. Consistency, routine, discipline, management of yourself. Starving this part out of yourself. Feeding it and replacing that starvation with something spiritual. Once again, you're dealing with grass. You sit back, you take all those roots out. You got to feed it with that miracle grow. Or you got to aerate the damn grass. You got to walk around with those little pokers. And you got to sit back and put new seeds in there. Listen, you know those damn shoes with like swords under it? That's with like nails. and they're cleats, you got to tie the top. You're like, listen, the grass needs that. And then, once every like 2 years or so, you got to put more soil on it. It takes work to stay on top of your grass. It takes more work to stay on top of your spirit. Anyway, let's continue.
Proverbs chapter 24, verse 31. And lo, it was all grown over with thorns and needles, and the nettles had covered the face thereof.
It was them damn stinky sunflower weeds, man. Read on.
And the stone wall thereof was broken down.
It just shows an example of a person that didn't do what it took every day to maintenance their spirit. That's a slothful person. A slothful person just doesn't do the mental maintenance. Will go through the physical motions, but never go through the mental maintenance. That's where the slothfulness starts, up here. I'm not going to fight the thought. I'm not going to fight my emotions. I'm not going to fight this impulse that hits me. I'm not going to challenge it. I'm just going to let everything come in and wonder why I'm a hot mess in the mind. If you're going to sit back here and grow, you have to start putting the blockades, fortresses. I'm not going to let this thought invade. I'm not going to let this mindset invade. I'm going to block this, overcome that, not feed this, not feed that. And it's a daily routine. You got something?
Proverbs 25 and verse 28.
Proverbs 25 and 28.
Proverbs chapter 25 and verse 28. Whenever you're ready.
Read that.
He that hath no rule over his own spirit is like a city that is broken down and without walls.
Exactly. And that whole concept about putting walls up. Your spirit is like a damn castle. How well have you fortified it? How well have you sat back here and built the walls to withstand negative thoughts, depression, hatred, self-loathing, a quitting spirit, lust? But you know how you build that fortress walls? How much you study. It goes back to studying, counseling, reading, communicating, listening to advice, listening to other men's strategies that are superior to yours. That's how you fortify your walls, your spiritual walls, your mental walls, so that they're not easily broken down. But you can't be in a spirit of having fun and hanging loose, man, and I just want to relax. That's not going to build up your walls. Even think about when we rebuilt our temple. We rebuilt Jerusalem, and how we had work supplies in one hand and a sword in the other. In order to sit back here and establish and fortify our temple, or to fortify our spirit, we had to be in war mode. We had to be willing to fight and build to protect ourselves from any foreign invaders while building. That's the mindset that we're trying to build in y'all. So you'll have enough to withstand these weak thoughts, these thoughts of quitting, these thoughts of giving in, these thoughts of feeding your lust.
Wiles of the devil.
Different strategies of breaking your spirit.
You're talking about Nehemiah 4:17?
What does it say?
We just said.
Okay, read it.
Nehemiah 4:17. They which build it on the wall, and they that bear burdens, with those that labour, every one with one of his hands wrought in the work. And with the other hand held the weapon.
And that's the thing. But see, that's the mindset we have to build now. Because there's no, in this world, in this life, there's no comfort. And Micah 2:10 says,
this place is not your rest.
This place is not your rest. This world is not the place to relax and take it easy and smile and just do what you want to do. You have to always be in a war mindset. Because everything around you is built to destroy you. Social media is built to corrupt you and weaken you. How many of y'all can sit back and get on Twitter or get on not Twitter, but Instagram, and your whole thought pattern changes after being on Instagram?
Quick.
You might be holy as hell. You sit back, you scrolling through some damn shit you ain't supposed to be scrolling through, and all of a sudden you're not the same guy for the next couple hours.
Pops that plug out the bottom, and all your spirit drains.
It's the truth. Like if you sit back and watching this, and it's some actions and body parts moving, you're like, oh shit, man. Now this body's got a spirit on me now. Now I got some thoughts that I wasn't intending to be thinking about.
Yeah, you didn't want to go there.
Now I was trying to be spiritual today. Now I got this image in my head all day long. Then you got to read Bible verses and counsel and go through all kind of changes just to take that thought out. And this is where that point in Nehemiah was. You have to always be ready to fight. I got to be able to build my spirit and go to war. Build my spirit and go to war at the same time. There is no rest. And when we start to seek rest, like in this slothful spirit, is when we fall apart spiritually and morally. Yes. What verse is it?
Ecclesiastes 34 in verse 27. It's talking about the servant. You read up, it says the servant, if thou set thy servant to labor, thou shalt find rest.
34?
It's 34 in verse 27 now.
There's no 27.
Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha, chapter 33, slide.
I'm looking at that one.
Aha! I made a mistake.
I think I think I might know that. There we go. Yes, there he got it. There he got it. He got it. Anyway, keep going.
Nah, it's Ecclesiastes 33 and verse 27.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 33 verse 27. Send him to labor, that he be not idle.
And this is just on your point. The reality is, when you have time to sit here and be in your head, be in your thoughts, that means there's more opportunities to make a mistake. A lot of us, including myself, when you don't got no time to think about anything extra, you stay on point for a long period of time. That's just the reality of it. You stay in a constant war mode all day long. There's no freedom to think about anything else. I don't got time to think about my lust or my deficiencies in the spirit. I'm grinding all day. I'm sweating.
And that's what Moses says, give the water no passage.
Kind of.
Listen, you gotta know yourself and know what's good for your spirit or what's bad for your spirit. If it's bad, why you keep feeding the bad thing in you?
Because it feels good.
Or why you keep looking at the same thing you know you ain't supposed to be looking at?
I like to look at.
Listen. Those are the answers.
I want to see it.
Those are not good reasons. But there we are. Anyway, did you finish with that?
No, yeah.
He's true. He's right though.
So send him to labor, that he be not idle. For idleness teacheth much evil.
God, that's all I want.
Just type what you put in there so that we don't lose track of that. But that was a good verse. Let's continue in Proverbs because it's getting late, man. I don't think we're gonna be able to have.
We're in verse 32 still.
Yep.
Yeah. So Proverbs chapter 24.
We're gonna do
verse
one more
32.
verse after this, and we're gonna probably shut it down, man. We got some more, but there's no time.
So Proverbs chapter 24, verse 32.
We can turn up and just be tired as hell at 11:30, but no, we're not gonna do that. Read that, sir.
Then I saw and considered it well. I looked upon it and received instruction.
What this is saying, you can learn from a person's mistakes as well as your strength. One thing I did when I was young, I saw all the guys get into counseling. I said, I'm not doing that. Now, I'm definitely not doing that. I can work on all the things. I got my little self-learning lesson I got to do. And I'm like, I'm not going to be in counseling for 4 hours. I'm not doing that. I'm going to avoid that out. But this is what this wise person said. I'm seeing this slothful, how this cat's rolling, and I'm learning some lessons. Read on.
It says, and received instruction, yet a little sleep, a little slumber.
The scary thing is, everybody looks at the end result. I'll never get that bad. I tell you what, if you stop working out, you'll look up 6 months later, you're like, damn, I've gone 6 months without looking at a jog. Mm-hmm. This is not good.
It's actually 3 months.
Well, yes, to each his own.
Hey, man.
My whole point is this. You'll sit back here, you're a little 40 in the hands. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it today. I'm just going to listen to some tunes. Some tunes. You listen to tunes one day, in the mall you listen to tunes again, then you're watching a movie the third day, then you go out to the bar the next day, and you're sitting back here, you're just doing other stuff, and you look up a week and a half, 2 weeks goes by, you haven't read a Bible verse, except for in class. And you wonder why you got these cycle thoughts in your head, huh? This is what happens. If you're not on top of your spirit, a little folding of the hands, a little slumber of the sleep, and then things fall apart. It doesn't take a lot. Scripture says strong hands make a man stronger and stronger. Oh, clean hands. Clean hands make the man stronger and stronger. Maintaining the routine keeps you strong. When you start to break routine, all of a sudden you get all discombobulated and you're starting back over at scratch. Keeping the routine is everything. You break your routine, you fall apart. Read on.
It says, a little folding of the hands to sleep. So shall thy poverty come as one that travaileth.
Your poverty, listen, it says poverty comes as one that traveleth. When you're traveling, you're blowing a lot of money. If you eating out every day, listen, you run through money quickly. But he's saying your poverty in whatever arena that you're slothful at comes quickly. You start falling apart quickly once you break your discipline, once you break your routine. And this is the facts. Staying on routine is everything. Read on.
It says, and thy want as an armed man.
And the more you're losing, the more you make desperate moves to get back what you lost. But instead of making desperate moves to recover what you lost, stay the course and be disciplined. and stick to your routine and your standard. You won't have to make extreme moves to get back on top. Whether it's in money budgeting, working out, staying in shape, studying, keeping a clear mind, being disciplined, avoiding lust, all of it's the same. Last verse, Proverbs 19, verse 23. Oh man, yeah, 23 and 24.
Proverbs chapter 19, verse 23, whenever you're ready.
I'm ready.
It says, the fear of the Most High.
Now listen, we read earlier what the fear of the Most High is. The fear of the Most High is what? Discipline. We're going to read it in Ecclesiasticus 32 and 14. Ecclesiasticus 32 and 14, it says, whoso feareth the Lord will receive his discipline. Okay, we read it earlier. So, fear of the Lord is discipline. So, read that part again. The fear of the Lord, what?
The fear of the Lord tendeth to life.
So that means discipline tends to life. If we want eternal life, what must we give ourselves to? Discipline. The fear of the Lord tends to life. Discipline tends to life. A lot of times we want to tap into our life and tap into our power without that equation. If you don't embrace discipline, you're really not living in a spiritual platform. Discipline is everything. So what is the antithesis of discipline? Slothfulness. That means slothfulness brings about death. Read on.
It says, and he that hath it shall abide satisfied.
If you live your life based on discipline, you'll have what you need. You'll be satisfied spiritually and physically. Read on. Yeah.
It says, he shall not be visited with evil.
So the people that are slothful are going to be visited with that evil guy. Bad scenarios happen. I remember brothers back in the day, there'd be slothfulness afoot. You know, we always, oh man, there's spirits happening. Spirits. No, spirits don't happen unless there's some bullshit going on. But if you're slothful, that's when spirits happen. Spirits don't happen when you're on point and you're taking care of your business.
It says, do no evil, not harsh.
There you go. And what's the spirits about then? Anyway, let me stop. Continue, man.
Verse 24.
For those who know. Read on.
Verse 24. A slothful man hideth his hand in his bosom.
A slothful man hides his hand into his bosom. Read on.
And will not so much as bring it to his mouth again.
Listen, a slothful person won't fight to fight his spirit to have life out. They won't fight for his life out. A slothful person will allow himself to erode and eventually die off. Because that's really what it is. He says the person that embraces discipline has life, tends to life. The slothful person won't even put his hand in his mouth to feed himself. The slothful person just is okay dying, okay fading out, okay not doing what it takes just to thrive and survive. Is that?
Can you please read 27?
Verse
27.
Read on.
Proverbs chapter 19, verse 27. Cease, my son, to hear the instruction that causeth to err from the words of knowledge.
Brother, it says, cease, my son, to hear the instruction that causeth to err from the words of knowledge. What's the instruction that causes to err? What your friends think, what your flesh thinks, what that deceitful mind in yours thinks.
Let me just take a break today.
Or that party that wants to take a break and take ease. Listen, taking an ease, taking that break is how you start to slowly diminish and break down. The ones who embrace discipline find life. The ones who are looking for that break, they find death. That's it. Any questions? All right, y'all. Thwada, it's getting late. See y'all on Wednesday. Peace.